minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Insurrection, obstruction, indictments, civilly liable for sexual abuse. The one man responsible for all that could be sitting in a prison cell on election day and still be elected commander-in-chief for these United States. That man is beholden to Putin, weakened NATO the last time around, and is currently tying himself to wealthy Saudi oil money. He enriched himself when government stayed at his properties. He campaigned on wanting to use government to go after his political rivals and wants to expand executive power. If Donald Trump is re-elected, our nation is lost. So let's roll up our sleeves, get to work, and tell the MAGA folks no more before it's too late.
This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. You can also join us in the chat room at liberaldanradio.com. That will bring you to the YouTube channel, and then that can you can join the live show there and join the chat room. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, again, I urge you to come over to the YouTube channel. We're either using that one. Actually, I urge you to go over to the Twitch channel too if you have Twitch, because we're still on the hunt for 21 more Twitch followers. We need 21 more followers to be able to reach affiliate. We have every other metric covered. We just need 21 more followers. So if you're on YouTube and you haven't followed me on Twitch yet, go do that. If you're on Twitch, you're listening and you haven't done yet, do that. If you're on Blog Talk Radio and you haven't followed me on Twitch, do that as well. If you're listening after the live broadcast, one of the best things you can do, go over to Twitch right now. Go to twitch.tv/liberaldanradio and you can give me a follow over there. We can become an affiliate, and it'll be another way to boost the show and make it even more successful as we try and grow the show. You can also go to, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to liberaldanradio.com. Like the live stream, share it with your friends, go on other videos, comment on those videos, respond to other people's comments on those videos, share new videos that I post on social media, especially the two new sets of videos series that I'm creating. One of them is the case for Joe Biden. One of them is the case against Donald Trump. And I don't know if it's going to be an every other week thing. Maybe as the election gets closer, it'll be an every week thing. Maybe some weeks I'll skip weeks. I don't know. But today I posted a new video about the case for Joe Biden. And pretty much I'm going to do Mondays, I'm going to post the case for Joe Biden. And Wednesdays, I'm going to post the case against Donald Trump. Today's was Joe Biden and his support for labor. And for those videos, I'm trying to keep it so that I'm trying to make them as short as possible, 3 minutes or less. Just kind of do a quick overview of why you should support Joe Biden, why you should oppose Donald Trump. And so today with labor unions, I talked about how he was the only president in the history of presidents to, as president, stand on a picket line and stand in solidarity with striking labor as they were striking with the United Auto Workers. He has signed executive orders supporting labor workers who are working as contract workers for government contractors to make sure that no new government contracts can be signed unless they promise and guarantee that they're going to pay their employees at least $15 an hour. There's the enhanced protections from the National Labor Relations Board that he put into place. And also there's the fact that despite having to get our rail lines and our freight lines that went over rail back into service, and a lot of people cried foul when Joe Biden signed those bills, that bill into law that forced the rail workers to end their strike despite not getting their paid sick leave. Joe Biden worked behind the scenes to get that sick leave done, and he got the rail workers his sick leave. He did not forget about labor. I guarantee you that if Donald Trump was president, that he would have not fought for those rail workers. He would have not fought to make sure that they got their sick leave. Period. So this is the type of person we currently have in office. We need to continue that moving forward. And there's going to be more stuff going on, more cases for Joe Biden, more cases against Donald Trump, because, again, one of the things that I think is ridiculous, that everyone will tell us, you can't just tell us why we have to vote against Donald Trump. You have to tell us why you have to vote for your guy. No. The Republicans do it all the time. The Republicans are against everything. They're not for anything. They're always against things. So why did the Republicans get away with being against everything, and that's okay for them, but for us, we have to be for things? No. But I'll play by that game. I'll show you that I'm for things as well as being against things. You know, I'll do that little tap dance. I'll do that little, you know, shuck and jive or whatever. I'll make sure that no one can come at me and say that I'm not gonna tell you why you should vote for the individual, not against. So, anywho. Hey, Teresa, what's going on? Good to see you. Hey, Jeff, what's going on? Let's see. Jeff Curry, it's been a great day in the Ozarks. Had to put a truck in four-wheel drive to get up a tiny incline on a driveway house. Nice. You know, that's the weather we got. Hey, Bill, what's going on? Did Bill join? I don't know. Did I see Bill? Oh, there's Bill. Got 12 viewers, 7 likes. Smash that like button. Remember to smash that like button. 4 viewers over on the Twitch channel. Thank you for viewing. If you've not followed, if you're a viewer on Twitch and you haven't followed yet, please make sure to follow. And if you're on YouTube and you've not followed me on Twitch, please do so as well. If you haven't created a Twitch account yet, I'm not asking you to Twitch all the time. I'm not asking you to watch me on Twitch at all. You can continue to watch me on YouTube. Just create a Twitch account for a second, follow me on Twitch, and then you never have to use Twitch again. That's all you need to do. So I really don't want to create 21 different Twitch accounts in order to get this done. That would seem to be kind of not in the spirit of the rules, I would guess. Even though I do have a second Twitch account, which I did follow myself with, but that's actually a live Twitch account that I use Tuesday nights. Speaking of my Tuesday night stream, just a little housekeeping. I have friends of mine who are leaving town. One of the reasons they have to leave town is because, one of them got a new job in another state. But the reason they looked for a new job in the other state is because of the fact that Louisiana has passed some terrible anti-trans legislation, and they have a kid who's trans, and they can't live here anymore because they can't live in a state that's going to discriminate against their child. So they're moving to another state to protect their child. One of them is having potentially, I think, karaoke or something tomorrow. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm going to start the gaming stream early and end early, or I don't know if I'm going to start the gaming stream late after I get back from karaoke, or I might just do it at the normal time and maybe end it early and then go to I don't know what I'm going to do. Just follow my Twitter account, nerdydan.com, and I'll retweet it from liberaldan.com or liberaldan radio on Twitter or what have you, and I'll keep you posted on my Twitter channels as to what I'm going to be doing and if there's going to be an early or late start. Not many people come to that Twitter channel anyway, or to that Twitch channel anyway, but just to let everybody know that tomorrow might be a little odd schedule because I want to make sure to see my friend and make sure my friend doesn't, make sure that I get one last goodbye before heading out. Turn my volume up. Is anybody else having a problem hearing me? Because I'm thinking my volume is all the way up. Is anybody else having an issue hearing me? Because my volume on OBS seems to be fine. And I seem to be hearing myself fine on my Twitch stream that I can hear. So, hey Kellahella, hey Donna, hey Marie, just waiting to see the response. I think that the Twitch audio is not as the Twitch stream seems to not be as buffered as the YouTube stream. But let me open my sound settings just to be sure, because sometimes my sound settings like to automatically adjust themselves for some reason, and I don't know why. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ron DeSantis in a second. Output, input. No, my input's at 98%. It's at 100%. Let me check this dealy. All right, that's turned up all the way, so I don't know. I don't know what the dealio is. Seems okay on YouTube to Steve, so maybe you have to check your own settings there, Donna. Anywho, 15 viewers on YouTube, 11 likes. Make sure to smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe as well. Other ways you can support the show. I didn't get through all this ways to support the show yet. You could also, there's the free ways again. Like videos, comment on videos, share videos, especially any new videos, especially those case for Biden, case against Trump. You could also do soup because I'm a partner on YouTube. You can super chat, you can super sticker, you can be a member now on YouTube for as low as, $1.99 or something now. So there's that. You can buy other people memberships, which some people have generously done. Once we get enough followers on Twitch, you'll be able to use your Amazon Prime account to subscribe to that for free, which would be cool. And then you could also buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button. $5 will buy me a cider. Or you can just Venmo me, Liberal Dan on Venmo. Just do friends and family because you're not buying anything from me. So before we get into, hey Wes, what's going on? Good to see you. One of the things before we get into talking about the news of the day, just one more quick thing about my weekend. It was the third of 4 weekends of my wife's gluten-free pop-ups that she's organized, and it's been so popular and so successful that the owners of the cidery, where buy me a cider, I actually do go to a cidery almost every week and enjoy at least a cider or two every week. The owners of the cidery have decided that they would like to do this thing once a month, to invite all these bakers and all these people that make gluten-free goods to be able to just come out once a month and be able to sell their goodies to all of the different people who would like to come out and buy gluten-free goods, because apparently it's been very good for business. It was so good for business that the entire place was just jam-packed on Saturday. Like every place was jam-packed. Everything was just packed. And we had 2 of the most popular king cake makers here. Let me tell you, one of these places called Heavenly Hands Heavenly Hands, their bakery, they made this strawberry cream cheese king cake. One of the best king cakes I've ever had. Like, not one of the best gluten-free king cakes I've ever had. One of the best king cakes I've ever had, period. Just delicious. I mean, outstanding. Like, I would put it in top 2. Like, I'm not topping, like, my ultimate favorite one from Bywater Bakery, owned by my friend, but it's up there. Like, damn. So good. And one of the other things that I decided to do, because I make really good chocolate chip cookies, and I've made really good chocolate chip cookies from, what's kink cake? Not kink cake, Aaron. King cake. King cake. Get your mind out the gutter, at least for now. I guess I can't yet begrudge you for having your mind in the gutter, because, we all have our mind in the gutter eventually in the show. I've been making chocolate chip cookies forever. I went to a senior year ski trip for high school, and I made a whole bunch of cookies the night before, and I was the most popular guy on the ski trip because everyone kept coming to the room like, oh, do you have any more of those cookies? Do you have any more people were just knocking down the door trying to get more cookies because I make awesome cookies. And so I changed it to using the all-purpose either Bob's Red Mill or King Arthur gluten-free cup for cup flour, and I a little generous with some of the other ingredients or whatever, and my chocolate chip cookies are great. And I came up with this other recipe called what I'm calling a peppermint hot chocolate chip cookie, which includes chocolate chips, marshmallow chips, and little peppermint bits or whatever in the cookie. And the favorite part of it was when I gave one of them to one of the other bakers, who, well, first I gave her like a little piece of the first cookie, and she was like, "This is really good." And then I gave her the piece of the peppermint one, and she was like, "These are dangerous." So when a professional baker tells you that your cookies are dangerous, that's high praise. That's absolutely high praise. So I was on kind of cloud nine about that one. And another one was, I also had another family who had come from a far way away to come and buy like some king cakes and stuff. And so the kids were like, they came and bought a couple of my cookies. And because I made some cookies to sell. And they came back for more. And they came back for more. And they came back for more. So, not expecting whatever, I sold like $88 a cookie. So I was like, hey, look at that. So, there we go. Yeah, Jeff, Aaron had her mind in the gutter over in the Twitch chat. So you missed that. Hey, Suzanne, good to see you over here. Jeff, I'd like to see the dog. Bet she's getting big. I actually posted a really funny picture of her just earlier today. Maybe a little bit later, I'll post the picture. Oh, I could probably post it now. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick. Let's pull up Facebook before we get into the meat of the stuff. It's not the full. It's not a full picture of her, but it's her face, and she's making a very cute face. But yeah, even my kids, like, you know, normally you think gluten-free cookies, and your mind is like, ugh, I don't want gluten-free cookies. Like, that doesn't sound appetizing at all. Like, I had a sign when I went to the cookie bake-off at work, and they were like, and I had the sign, and they were like, I'm not trying gluten-free cookie. I'm like, no, go try it. And they were like, this is gluten-free. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. So it was awesome to have that good feedback as well. But let's see. Where's, come on. It's not letting me. All right, just save as. It's not even saving. Let me save a picture. That's bizarre. No. It's being weird. Anyway, we can just do it this way. We can go to the alternate screen. There's Blanche right there. That's my dog sleeping with her little tongue out. Oh, look how cute. She's like 60 something, almost 70 pounds. So, anyway, there she is, my sweet little pup. My sweet big pup. So, yeah, she is very spoiled, and she just wants to be pet all over and over and over and over. So, and she wants all the treats. And every time I open up a pack of like gaming cards or whatever, she thinks I'm opening treats for her. I'm like, no, these are not for you. So, anyway, news of the day. Ron DeSantis drops out of the presidential election like 2 days after saying that he was going to stay. What kind of dog? Labrador, a white lab. She's a purebred white lab. Let's see, Jeff Curry. My daughter is in a chili contest. She did same as my last pot. A guy told her it wasn't spicy enough while he was red sniffing and sweating. Nice. I need some of that chili, Jeff. Or at least email me the recipe if you haven't done that already. I'll probably be the only one in my house that eats it, but still. Anyway, so 2 days after or so that he said that he was going to stay in this election for the long haul, Ron DeSantis is like, I'm dropping out of the race, which, is understandable that he would drop out of the race because he had no chance of winning in the first place. Why does he have no chance of winning in the first place? Because all of his support are maggot idiots. Like all the people that are going to support Ron DeSantis are people who are going to support Trump, because they would be pulling from the same base. But the people that are pulling from the Trump base are loyal to Trump, so why are they going to support DeSantis? Like only a very few people are going to be like, well, I like MAGA, but Trump has issues. Like that might be like the slim people who are like, I like Trump, but I don't like his criminality. But I want somebody else who's going to push Trump, who maybe he's younger. Well, maybe I want a younger version of Trump, or maybe I want whatever. So he wasn't going to gain much, if anything. But the thing that just shows you that these Republicans have no spine, that these Republicans have no backbone, they have no integrity, they have no courage, is for months DeSantis has been, saying how horrible Trump is, how he's a distraction, how we need somebody different. And for months of Donald Trump calling him Ron DeSanctimonious, Donald Trump's been calling him names, this, that, every which way since Sunday. All these names that Donald Trump has been calling him, and what does DeSantis do? He endorses Trump. So, could have been Hypocrite of the Week this week. He's not. I've made somebody else Hypocrite of the Week of this week. If you're Patreon, if you're Liberal Dan Radio patron, patreon.liberaldan.com or patreon.com/liberaldan, either way gets you there. You got an early preview of the Hypocrite of the Week this week, but we'll play that in a little bit. However, it just goes to show you how these Republicans absolutely have no spine, no backbone, no courage. How are you going to stand up to any dictator across the world if you can't even stand up to Donald Trump? If you can't stand up for yourself, if you can't stand up, if you don't have the courage to stand up for your own self, if you don't have the courage to be like, look, I'm not going to sit here and endorse the person that sat here and insulted me, and why would we ever trust you at any point in the future to be president? I mean, he's Ron DeSantis, so regardless of what he did in this election, if he did ever run, I still never would trust him again. But how could anybody trust him even as a Republican to sit in a seat of power if he would fold like that, fold like a lawn chair? Old lawn chair Ron is what we should call him. Just like freaking Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, Trump sits there, insults his family, insults him, all the time. He shows a little teeny modicum of a spine during their convention, and then he just goes all in and backs Trump and loves Trump and, oh, Trump's wonderful, oh, Trump's great, etc., etc., etc. So at the end, they all fold. I'm not going to be surprised if when Nikki Haley loses the primaries, if she goes ahead and follows through with her promise, and she goes ahead and she endorses the jackass as well. Because as the host with the most, Nibis Yosh with the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast, says, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. Although he hasn't done a podcast in a while, so I might have to just usurp his line and just steal it as my own at this point. I have to tell him that. So, Dan, make what you like, then add an entire bottle of ghost pepper sauce and some ghost peppers for looks. Nice. When will Trump break out Tricky Nicky? Oh, I'm sure he will break out Tricky Nicky. Hey, Elizabeth, what's going on? The thought of Trump doing the wild thing grosses me out. It should gross anybody out. It's a gross thought. What the heck? I just lost a follower on Twitch. What the hell just happened? Lovely. So now I need 22 followers on Twitch. So let's see. Boo, 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 boo. But yeah, so I mean, the idea, everyone was thinking that, oh, when Chris Christie dropped out of the race, that maybe Nikki Haley's polling would be better in New Hampshire, but it didn't get better. Does Ron DeSantis dropping out make Nikki Haley better in New Hampshire? It doesn't, because again, anybody who is voting for DeSantis is more likely to vote for Trump than they are to vote for Nikki Haley. I mean, because they're more likely on the side of MAGA idiots than they are on Nikki Haley. So I can't see tomorrow, with Haley being down 15 points, I can't see tomorrow being any good for Haley. Now, we could be surprised. We could be wrong. That's why you have elections, and that's why we don't judge elections by polls. That's why we actually have election day. Turnout could be crazy. You could have a lot of people come out, and you could see Nikki Haley just surprise the world, and then Donald Trump will do his whole, the Democrats came out and did whatever, and it's rigged against us, and blah, blah, blah. And that'll just rile up his base even more. But I'm not holding my breath at the idea that Nikki Haley is going to eke out this win. And even if she ekes out this win, what does that do? Is she going to win her own state? Probably not. Is she going to win California or Texas? Probably not. I don't see any possible path for her to victory. Now, does her winning New Hampshire maybe make people change her mind that maybe she has a slight chance and maybe people maybe then come on board? I don't know. But at this point, Donald Trump's the presumptive nominee, and there's no two ways about it at this point. Nikki Haley would have to pull off some sort of huge miracle, and I don't see it happening, because she's only just now starting to attack Donald Trump's mental capacity, because Donald Trump confused Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump, starts, talking about that he's talked about before how he ran against Barack Obama, which he never did. There's many examples of Donald Trump showing that he does not have the mental capacity to be president of these United States. But, of course, his followers won't hear it because the media channels that his watchers or his followers might watch are never going to show those things. And if they do, if they do happen to see it, they won't believe it. They'll just think it's AI. They'll think it's a deep fake voice thing or whatever. Much like the deep fake voice thing of Joe Biden telling Democrats in New Hampshire to not come out and vote in New Hampshire, even though Joe Biden's not on the ballot in New Hampshire because of the whole them moving South Carolina forward to make it the first primary. So the DNC pulled out, but New Hampshire was still holding the primary, so the DNC is not participating in the primary, but the New Hampshire Democrats are basically saying, just go write Joe Biden's name in anyway. So it's ridiculousness. Like, it's all petty ridiculousness. Like, the idea, I understand why the Republicans want, Iowa and New Hampshire to be first, because the Republican Party is a bunch of old white men. And so, of course, they're going to want New Hampshire and Iowa to be their first two, because New Hampshire and Iowa are representative of who the Republican Party is. But New Hampshire and Iowa are not representative of who the Democratic Party is. It makes more sense to have South Carolina and the makeup of the South Carolina Democratic Party and the registered Democrats in South Carolina. It makes more sense to have them be earlier in the primary season. But of course, New Hampshire had to cry and whatever. So, see, Steve, if you were president, you could ask SEAL Team 6 to track them down. Well, according to Donald Trump's attorneys, you could do anything you want with SEAL Team 6, and as long as you have 35 or so senators who won't convict you on articles of impeachment, nobody could convict you of anything. It's a bizarre legal theory, but hey, that's what they say. You could gun down any political opponent. You could do whatever you want as president, and they can't convict you as long as you don't get convicted in the Senate of anything impeachable. As long as they don't impeach you and convict you, you can't be convicted of a crime. It's stupid, but again, this is who Donald Trump has hired for his legal advice, for his legal team. Do we really want that person in the Oval Office with a legal team like that? I sure as hell don't. That was the topic of my first case against Donald Trump. So, Jeff Curry, I'm a white guy. I wonder if I'll ever get old enough to vote Republican and listen to country music. I hope not. There's a few country songs that I like, but as I get older, there's that old adage of if you're young and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. If you're old and you're not conservative, you don't have a brain. Well, I reject that wholeheartedly, because as I get older, I get more progressive. As I get older, I get more to the left, because as I get older, I see more and more examples of how conservatism fails this country. I see more and more examples of how conservatism harms people, and each time I see it, it moves me more to the left. It doesn't make me want to be more conservative. It makes me want to be less conservative. Every single time conservatism fails, it makes me want to be more to the left. And to be conservative, especially at this point, especially to be a MAGA conservative, you got to be like the Scarecrow. If I only had a brain. I guess I shouldn't whistle that too much, because if I whistle it too good, I might get a copyright strike. Although I don't know if I said this before, but the copyright claim against my channel when I played Steamboat Willie, that few seconds of Steamboat Willie that I played, maybe a minute or so, that actually got taken. The copyright strike went away. I no longer have a copyright. There wasn't a strike, but it was like a flag or warning. That copyright flag or warning went away. It no longer exists, because I guess they realized that they done been stupid. So, Kalahela, FK conservatives. Exactly. MJ Daniel, I was 61. I've not voted for a Republican since the 90s. The only ever time I voted for a Republican was there was a mayoral race and a police chief race in the city of Kenner when I lived in Kenner, Louisiana. And in that race, the Democrats that were in that race were never going to win. And the Democrat running for police chief fell asleep in the middle of the candidate forum. I'm like, I can't vote for somebody who fell asleep in the middle of the candidate forum. That just doesn't make sense whatsoever. Like, how do you fall asleep in a candidate forum? Like, how does that make me want to vote for you for police chief? Come on. And the person who got elected police chief was somebody who was like the assistant chief of police, somebody who had lots of integrity, and it really wasn't an issue of party. But on the mayoral side, it was one of those situations where it was very important to make sure that of the 3 top Republican people running, that at least one of the 3, there was 2 that were just constantly fighting each other. It was very important that at least one of them didn't make the runoff, and that the third one did, so that it would be him against one of those other 2, and the Democrat who was running was never going to win. So, had to go against the normal open primary thing and say, hey, I gotta vote for the lesser of three evils to make sure that one of the greater of two evils doesn't make it into, so that we don't have a runoff between the same two idiots again, because the city of Kenner had been ruined by those two idiots over and over and over again. Speaking of open primaries, Louisiana had a special session. Hold on. It's not coming up. That's weird. That doesn't work. I guess it helps if I spell the governor's name right. So we have a special session in the state of Louisiana. So the special session in the state of Louisiana dealt with three issues. The issue that we were supposed to have the special session for was that it was deemed that our congressional districts were unconstitutional because we had only one majority black district and our state was 1/3 African American voters, and we have 6 congressional seats. So since we were not adequately representing our black voters in the House of Representatives and Congress, so what they did was they were forced by the courts to have this special session to redraw Louisiana's congressional districts to make sure that for the upcoming elections that Louisiana has 2 majority black districts. Shockingly enough, they got it done. I can't believe they got it done. I can't believe Louisiana is now going to have 2 congressional districts that are going to have majority black districts, and we're not going to have the one single horribly gerrymandered district that is the 2nd congressional district. So it's crazy. But in this special session, they also managed to do 2 other things. So the first thing again was Senate Bill 8, was the law that was passed and signed that would redistrict the congressional seats into the given map that would create a 2nd majority-minority district. It comes at the expense of Representative Garrett Graves from Baton Rouge, who is now not going to have a district. So now he might have to fight somebody else to try and keep his seat in Congress. So there is a funding bill, House Bill 16, which will allow the Secretary of State to notify voters about the change in congressional districts, which I guess is good. And then there is HB 17. HB 17 adds primary elections for the following office: Senator, Representative UN Congress, Supreme Court Justices, Louisiana Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Public Service Commission. So for the federal elections, for Supreme Court Justices, for this Bessie Board, and for Public Service Commission, we have now, instead of having elections that are open primaries, we now have closed primaries. And we tried this before. Like for a brief hot minute, we had closed primaries, and that's how for one term we got Joseph Gow, a Republican, in the 2nd congressional district, but also because we had Bill Jefferson, who was a criminal who eventually ended up going to jail. So, and then we went back and we reversed it because everybody hated it. Now, it's ridiculous that we signed this into law that they even passed these laws to begin with, because open primaries are very popular in the state of Louisiana. Like 80% of the people in Louisiana like open primaries. But I think what I think there was a last-second amendment to the bill that would allow for independent voters or non-affiliated voters to vote in whatever ones they choose. Let's see. Limit the application of party primary elections to Senator, House of Representatives, Justice of the Supreme Court, Public Service Commission, and Bessie Board of Secondary Education. Change the effective date of the proposed provision for party primary elections to January 1st, 2026. Remove special provisions for the 2024 elections and for 2025 primary elections. Move provisions by allowing the State Central Committee of a recognized political party and its bylaws to determine whether unaffiliated voters may vote in its primary. So the parties cannot decide if unaffiliated voters may vote in the primary. Provides that voters unaffiliated with the party may vote in a recognized party primary, but such a voter may only vote in one recognized primary. Provide that the candidates who receive a majority of the votes in the party primary qualifies as the party's nominee for the office, and provides for a second primary in the event that no candidate receives the majority of the votes in the first party primary, and specifies procedures in the case of tie votes for the first party primary. Provides that there shall be no third party primary, and that for circumstances not provided in proposed law, the State Central Committee of the recognized political party shall provide for the selection of a nominee from its candidates and give notice thereof to the Secretary of State. So basically, there will be party primaries for the Democratic and Republican Party. Third party primaries are basically still chosen by the parties themselves, and then everybody goes into the general election. Which only will serve to make for more extreme candidates instead of having candidates go for the middle, which only serves to help the Republicans in the state of Louisiana, which, is what he wanted to do in the first place, because you won't end up with you won't end up in the other races with like a more conservative Democrat in those races. You're probably going to end up with more progressive type candidates who will then lose in conservative leaning districts, which is what Landry wanted. I'm sure Landry wanted that for all of the races for governor and other state legislators, but that, I guess, didn't fly. So now we're going to have confusion as well, because now some of our elections are going to be open primaries, and some of our elections are going to be closed primaries, and so we're gonna have more confusion because we're Louisiana and we're led by a complete Republican majority, and that's what they do now. They're just going to confuse the hell out of all of the voters, and that giant sucking sound that you hear is just the state of Louisiana sucking. Hey, Cynthia from Texas, good to see you. Hey, Chucker John, let's go back through the chat. Hey, it's Seha, good to see you as well. Rob Saunders, good to see you. I don't think I said hi to Kalahela. Suzanne. See, Kalahela, only Republican vote was for Arnold. Yeah, I appreciate your vote, Kalahela. That ex-president is now a fan of Florida Ron because he dropped out and endorsed him, effectively kissing his ass. Of course, Donald Trump loves it when his ass gets kissed. Pucker up and kiss the orange keister. Let's see. Steve, hi, and say hi. LOL. Trucker John, open primaries don't make any sense to me. The thing with open primaries is that they allow you to vote for the candidate that you like the most, in the most part. And then if your candidate that you like doesn't make it, then you could vote for the lesser of two evils. It makes it so that, like, if we didn't have an open primary in Louisiana, for example, for the last two governor elections. Now we still have open primaries for governor. But if we didn't have an open primary for governor and it was a closed primary for governor, we would have had Governor Vitter for the last 8 years instead of Governor John Bel Edwards. Now, John Bel Edwards did sign that horrible pro-life or anti-choice horrible abortion bill into law, and I'm sure David Vitter would have done the same thing. David Vitter might not have included that provision that made it so that the morning after bill would be safe, but we would have probably been much worse off had we had a closed primary, because again, John Bel Edwards would probably have not gotten the nomination of the party. The party would have probably voted for somebody more to the left of Edwards, and then that person would not have won the statewide vote because that person wouldn't have gotten the endorsement of some of the more moderate Republicans who couldn't support David Vitter in the general election when nobody got 50% of the vote in the open primary. Thank you, Nick Rich. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. His 5th super chat on a live stream. Awesome. So that's why open primaries to me are a good thing, because you tend to get candidates that you wouldn't see get elected in a good way in those open primaries. Now, I guess I like it because it's a red state. Maybe if I lived in a blue state, I might not. Maybe I would have a different opinion on it. I would hope that I wouldn't. Maybe people in blue states who might see more conservative people might have an issue with it. But at the moment, I'm in a red state, so I'm seeing how it's more beneficial. But I have a friend who lives in California, who is a lawyer in California, and who worked on, as part of the legal team, she is a lawyer, and she worked on California's attempt to make California have open primaries. So California moved from having closed primaries to open primaries, and to me, it's just a better thing. So Elizabeth, open primaries allow for people to tilt the choice from the other party. And a lot of the times in some states, like when you have an absolute closed primary, like the independent voters sometimes get left out. I mean, but independent closed primaries, I mean, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because when you have a closed primary, I mean, you don't necessarily want people from other parties coming in and be able to influence who's your nominee. That being said, again, like you're ending up pushing out to the extremes instead of keeping it into perhaps people that might be a little more grounded, so to speak. Like, I think you're less likely in most cases to not get Tea Party crazies. Now, in this case in Louisiana, in order for open primaries to work, you have to have 2 functioning political parties in the state. That's a big caveat. You have to have 2 functioning political parties in the state for that to work. In Louisiana, we have a Democratic Party run by her, and terrible. It's just terribly run. We didn't support a gubernatorial candidate, and so therefore you did have a MAGA idiot win it outright in the first, because our party did not support the gubernatorial candidate like they should, and as such, there was no need for a runoff. So, unfortunately, the open primary didn't help us get the result that we might want here. But again, it's not because of the flaw in the open primary, it's because of the flaw in party leadership of the Democratic Party.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. I also like ranked choice voting. I think we should mix in open primaries with ranked choice voting, because the only problem I have with open primaries is that you end up having an open primary, and then everybody comes in and vote in the open primary, and then in the runoff, sometimes you'll have less people showing up. Whereas if you had ranked choice voting, you could have everybody voting, vote your rank. And there you go. And sometimes in ranked choice voting, maybe the people were pitching a fit about Alaska's ranked choice voting because, like, you had, what was it? I think Palin was in a particular slot or whatever, and she didn't get first or whatever, but she ended up eventually losing the race because, like, she didn't get a majority of the votes. Like, I think she was in first, but she didn't get a majority of the votes, so therefore the ranked choice voting kicked in, and a majority of the people in the ranked choice voting were like, we don't necessarily have her, we don't have the same one person as our first choice, but we definitely don't have Sarah Palin as our second, third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth choice. So all of the ballots, like, were just ended up getting her, like, ended up having another candidate surpass her because a lot of people had her first, but not the majority, and the majority of the people had her last. And that's the problem with first to the post, and that's the great thing about open primaries, that's the great thing about ranked choice voting, is that it allows you to vote for who you want. It allows you to vote for, and especially with ranked choice, it allows you to vote for exactly who you want. And if there's somebody who's so terrible that you don't want them at all, you can put them last. And if enough people put them last, they're never going to win, even if they finish that first round of balloting in first place, because if they don't get 50% of the vote, it don't matter, because then you're going to keep knocking off the ballots of everybody else, and then you're going to keep adding up the votes of everybody else who of those ballots that, well, this person got these first place votes, but we're not counting them, so we're going to count those second place votes. Okay, well, now let's retotal them up. Now let's retotal them up. Now let's retotal them up. Gets to a point where the person who was in the lead at the beginning loses because the majority of the state hates their guts. And that's why ranked choice voting, that's why open primaries are beneficial for the electorate and beneficial for making sure that the absolute worst candidate doesn't get elected, again, as long as you have functional working opposition parties. Is it ranked choice to get the best candidate? I mean, hypothetically. Ranked choice means you get the candidate that is most popular, and you reject the least popular candidate. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the super chat. Appreciate you. That's the point of elections, is that you should get the candidates elected who the people want. And that's why the Republicans hate ranked choice voting, is because you're giving the people what they really want. You're not letting them. You're not letting the politicians pick their voters like they do. Like, that's the one thing where, like, you had people arguing on Twitter the other day, shocking, I know, about voting for whether or not we should have changed Louisiana's lines and how the boundaries should have been changed. There were several different proposals on how the boundaries were going to change, and it was like, well, there's no solution that's perfect. Like, of course there's a perfect solution. The perfect solution is my solution, which is get rid of boundaries altogether. Have slates of candidates. Have the Democratic Party say, okay, we're going to put up a slate of 6 candidates. Have the Republican Party say, we're going to put up a slate of 6 candidates. You might even have, like, a centrist Dem ticket that puts up a slate of 6 candidates. So let's say, and then maybe the centrist Dems are like, okay, look, we're centrist Democrats. We don't agree with everything that these guys say. Maybe we're pro-life Democrats or whatever. But when we get to Washington, we're still pro-labor. We're still pro-environment. We're still going to caucus with the Democrats when we get up there. But we have some differences with the main Democratic Party, and we're going to form our own ticket. So that way the people in Louisiana could be like, okay, well, instead of being stuck voting in your district, you get to say, oh, I live in Louisiana. I'm going to vote for the Democratic ticket because I agree with them the most. Or someone might say, well, I live in Louisiana and I might be a little bit more of a conservative person, but I'm still pro-union. I'm still a Democrat at heart, so therefore I'm going to vote for this conservative Democrat slate. And if the conservative Democrat slate gets one vote's worth of votes, then they get one seat, and their top vote getter gets that seat. And if the Louisiana Democratic Party official slate gets 2/3 of the vote, then two of their candidates, the top two, go in. And if the Republican Party has a slate of candidates that only gets two in, and those top two candidates go in, and then maybe a Tea Party or MAGA or QAnon or some other group decides to form another ticket and they get one, and they say, well, we're going to caucus with the Republicans when we feel like it and feel like not being, us. They then get another one ticket, one vote, or 1/6 of the vote, and they get their own top guy in because they managed to pull off a vote. So to me, slates of candidates are even better, but the odds of that happening are, to me, slim to none. So Chris, hey, think I was the only one besides the mods and Liberal Dan over on Twitch. You may very well have been. I mean, you've got yourself, you got my other account, you've got Aaron, and you've got Chris over on Twitch. And it's not necessarily, I don't need that many people watching on Twitch. It's just that I need people following on Twitch. I need some people watching on Twitch to make sure I have the average of 3 viewers an hour. But I do need followers on Twitch. Now I need 22 for some reason. I don't know who unfollowed me. I don't know if it tells you or not. Welcome back, Aaron. Let's see, when MAGA is exposed for the fascism, perhaps the maggots will catch on. No chance. I don't believe that they will catch on. Reason they won't catch on is for the exact reason that Donald Trump said after the Nevada primaries in 2016. After the Nevada primaries in 2016, Donald Trump made his proclamation that he loves the poorly educated voters. He did very well amongst the poorly educated, and he loves the poorly educated voters. Clearly, because if you have to be poorly educated to be that gung-ho for Herr Donald. $56. Nick Rich. If only logic mattered to maggots. Well, one can dream, can't you? To dream a dream. See. Blah. My daughter just texted me we should go to the zoo after I have an edible, and she had a couple of Bloody Marys, feed and pet the giraffes. That could be trippy. Just don't trip while you're being trippy. Hairball Donald. And what's crazy about Donald is just that, Donald's running, the other day was running on the whole thing about how Biden can't form a complete sentence or something, which is a bunch of BS because it's just mocking his stuttering and mocking somebody's stutter. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised since Trump mocks the disability with the whole hand like this thing that was just like when people are like, I can't believe that wasn't. There's so many memes that are like, I can't believe this wasn't the end of his campaign. I can't believe that wasn't the end of his campaign for so many people when he mocked disability. But he is someone who's going to mock disabilities. It's low-hanging fruit for him. And I can only reach the low-hanging fruit because of my tiny little hands. But, then he sits there and he says all of these ridiculous things on interviews and on TV. Again, how he ran against Obama. It's absurd. It's absurd that he has the gall to say that other people don't have the mental faculty. Oh, but he's going to sit here and be like, well, I said person, woman, man, camera, TV 5 years ago, and that means I'm A-OK. Woohoo. Then Trump could not put words in the sentence correctly. Him mocking McCain in the shoulder was awful. He could not lift his arms because of torture. Well, him mocking McCain in general when he was like, I like soldiers that weren't, captured. Like mocking McCain for getting captured in war. Like, that's another one of those things. Why wasn't it over then? Had a Democrat said anything like that, the Republicans would have had a conniption. They would have freaked the F out. They would have said, there's no way anybody should be voting for this, but this person should be canceled. Because they dared to mock somebody's military service. But no. Let Donald Trump do it. It's somehow magically okay. Yep, he went after saying it. Hey, P-Dubs, hope you feel better, and hope you feel better too, Aaron. Whew. All of a sudden, I just got really tired, and I don't know what the deal is. It's just a big, rush of tiredness just washed over me, and I don't know why. I should have more of that energy drink with me. Maybe I should play a commercial and go get an energy drink. I may very well do that. I don't usually play my commercial bits, but let me go ahead and let me play my Demonox commercial, since, eventually he's going to come back with a World According to Knox thing. It'll give me a few minutes to get up, go stretch my legs, go get a whatchamacallit, go get an energy drink, and then come back up and continue the show. There's the commercial break, Knox. It'll give me about a 4-minute break. So if you want to stretch your legs and come back, we'll be back with more Liberal Dan Radio in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Are you planning a trip to Disney soon? Do you want help avoiding spending mistakes and making the most of your vacation? Then check out budgeteers.com, a new site devoted to helping you get the most mouse for your money. What kinds of tickets should you get? Is the dining plan a good deal for you? Should you stay on grounds or not? Should you buy park hoppers? Many other sites are filled with information about what other people like to do, but Budgeteers is geared to help you make the best decision for you. So check out budgeteers.com or go to youtube.com/budgeteers and help make your trip the best it can be. Budgeteers.com is not a travel agency, and it is not affiliated with the Disney Corporation or any of its holdings. In a world gone mad, one progressive will do a bad movie trailer guy impression to get you to listen to his show. There's only one thing that I like better than the Liberal Dan Radio minicast. Alright, Bill, that's enough of that. On the Liberal Dan Radio minicast, you will hear an honest discussion of the day's issues, with some personal bits in between. You might even hear what the other side has to say, sometimes even in their own voices. So become one of the Liberal Dan family, because family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. To hear those bad impressions and more, tune into the Liberal Dan Radio minicast. Talk from the left, that's right. And I think to myself, what a wonderful show. Yeah. If you enjoy Liberal Dan Radio, there's many ways that you can support the show. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can like me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter or TikTok. And you can become a Liberal Dan Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can get a shout out. Higher levels get the opportunity to vote on what I do next on the podcast, the minicast, or on YouTube. You can even buy commercial advertising or sponsor bits.
So go to patreon.liberaldan.com and support the show today.
Hey there, podcast listeners. This is Demonox, host of The World According to Nox. It's time for Season 2, where I take you on another trip through my world. The world of movies, video games, pop culture, and more. Relate them to the world around you. Don't forget to leave a question for Marscat, and find me on Twitter by the handle xDemonox. That's letter X like X-Men, DEMINOX. Now enjoy the rest of your podcast.
It's not easy being green. Thank you, Nick Rich, for becoming the next liberal Danimal. You too can be a member of the liberaldanradio.com by joining up. It's very cheap and it's an easy way to support the show. I appreciate you and all the liberal Danimals who have signed up and all the people who have bought membership for other people as well. I am back. I got a peach energy drink that my wife had bought, so I can eat a peach for hours, as they say in Face Off. Maybe this will help me power through the rest of the show. I mean, I used to end shows after an hour straight, just regardless. I have no problems normally ending shows after an hour if I really felt like it, but I didn't feel like ending the show early, so just run a commercial at the bottom of the hour and get an energy drink and power on through. So there you go. So I'm back. We got a bunch of sick people in chat apparently. Jolie's sick, P-Dubs is sick, and snowed in. Who else? Lots of people feeling ill. I hope all of y'all feel better quickly. Bob LeBlanc, yes, 4 minutes only. It was actually 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and like at least 40 seconds of that was just the intro and outro music. So, you know, it is what it is. Sorry. Anywho, so what's this? The first thing that popped up when I opened Twitter is Elon Musk saying something was very concerning, which to me probably means it's not very concerning at all. Litigation bombshell. We sued the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Department and censorship arm of DHS. Our lawsuit unearthed new docs showing that the deep state knew the risk of mass mail voting in 2020, but censored these criticisms as disinformation. Risk. All forms of voting. Let's see. You know, I just don't believe that crap. What's my most recent rant? I don't know. We can always check and see what my most recent fat man rant was. Jeff, I ain't eating anything with fuzz on it. Gutter mind taking over. I usually like if fuzz has grown on it. Fuzz has to have grown on it first. Jeff. Anyway. You need some matzo ball soup. Hold on. Apparently TV2 is live right now too, and there's something saying that SCOTUS ruled in favor of Biden. Let's see what that happens to be. Nice. 4:21 p.m. Supreme Court allows federal agents to remove razor wire placed at border. Let's see. We're going to get into that in a second. But first we're going to answer the question about when my most recent fat man rant was. Your channel. Videos. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. It was 2 weeks ago. My most recent Fat Man rant was about the Fifth Circuit allowing, let's turn this off real quick, allowing Texas ER doctors to refuse abortions in emergency rooms. So yeah, it was about the topics of abortion. So there you go. That was my most recent Fat Man rant. I'm sure there'll be more Fat Man rants coming shortly. But this is big. This is good. Huh. See, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh said they would have denied the administration's request to lift the lower court injunction blocking the removal of the wire. Let's see. SCOTUS. Where is the ruling? Let's go to SCOTUS blog because I want to actually read if there's a. I want to see the actual ruling itself because we're gonna go. We might go over that. Can they charge Abbott? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they can charge it. I mean, I would like for them to be able to. This is the emergency docket, so I don't know if there's anything on the emergency docket. No more razors, waxing only. Ba-dum-bum. Let's see. Article was how on the court. Why on the court? 56. Dan's not fat, just portly. Or I'm not fat, I'm big man. Department of Homeland Security versus Texas. I don't know if there was anything written on it. That's the thing I want to say. I want to see if anything was written. Emergency docket 2023 Michigan. Hey, Gibson Media, behave. I'm just saying right now, behave. Thank you for purchasing and gifting a membership as well, Nick. That's awesome of you. Appreciate it. Let's see. In a brief, unsigned order, the justices lifted an order by a federal appeals court that had barred Border Patrol agents from interfering with the wire except in medical emergencies. 4 justices, Clarence Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, indicated that they would have denied the Biden administration request and would have allowed the lower court's order to remain in place. In response to an increase in the number of migrants, many of whom are seeking asylum, crossing the border in the United States, Texas installed rules of ways or wire. We know all that. On December 19th, a federal appeals court in New Orleans, of course it did, because it's the Fifth Circuit, temporarily barred Border Patrol agents from cutting or moving the wire in the area around Eagle Pass. That order prompted the Biden administration to come to the Supreme Court on January 2nd, asking the justices to intervene. U.S. Solicitor General told the court that the order by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit bars agents from doing their job, specifically from cutting or moving the wire to obtain access to the U.S.-Mexico border and reaching migrants who have already entered U.S. territory. The exception that appeals created for medical emergencies is not enough. Blah, blah, blah. Texas told the justices that there was no need for them to get involved in the dispute because the Court of Appeals had fast-tracked the case. Blah, blah, blah. But in any event, Texas dismissed the underlying premise of the Biden administration's argument that Border Patrol agents are carrying out their responsibilities when they move to cut the wire as false. To the contrary, Texas contended as federal district court in the case of Border Patrol agents are not actually apprehending or processing migrants, blah, blah, blah. More broadly, Texas concluded the public interest favors not only respecting states' property rights, but also supporting efforts to combat the influx of deadly fentanyl, blah, 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 and minimize the risk of people, both U.S. citizens and migrants, of drowning. Look, here's the thing. Texas has every right, if they have probable cause, to search people for fentanyl, and if they have fentanyl on them, they can arrest them for possessing fentanyl illegally. They need probable cause to believe that they have fentanyl, and the fact that they have brown skin and the fact that they cross the border illegally may or may probably doesn't. The fact that they have brown skin absolutely doesn't give them probable cause to do so. Them crossing the border at not an illegal place, crossing a border illegally. I mean, I don't think it's legal for you and I, as citizens, to cross a river like that. We also have to cross showing people our passports. So I think if you or I were to swim across the Rio Grande, I think we would also be crossing the border illegally. So I think it's fine for me to say crossing the border illegally because that's what it is. I don't know if crossing the border illegally would at that point allow for a search under the beliefs that whether or not, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm going to say that I could be wrong on that particular case. However, Texas does not have the right or the authority, for that matter. Texas has no rights because states don't have rights. States have powers. People have rights. Texas does not have the authority to prevent people from crossing the border. That's the point. Let's see, in a filing on January 12th, Texas has recently added new razor wire barriers and fencing along the border and blocked access by Border Patrol agents to sites used to launch patrol boats on the river and for mobile surveillance. As a result, agents are effectively barred from accessing or getting near the border along the stretch of river and therefore effectively prevented from monitoring the border to determine whether a migrant requires emergency aid that the Court of Appeals expressly accepted from the injunction. The Supreme Court argued should lift the Fifth Circuit's order to restore Border Patrol's access to the border. It is charged with patrolling, and the migrants it is responsible for apprehending, inspecting, and processing. The court granted Preligara's request with its order on Monday afternoon. The Biden administration needed 5 votes to freeze the Fifth Circuit order, which means Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett would have joined the 3 liberal justices in joint voting to grant release. So, wow. So Barrett came along with Roberts against those 4. That's crazy. So there you go. Amy Coney Barrett came along with Justice Roberts and said, "Hey, the state of Texas doesn't have the right to prevent the federal government from doing their constitutionally authorized duty to protect the border." So, Gibson Media, you are 100% wrong, Joseph. You are completely 100% wrong. The state does not have the right or the authority. States don't have rights. States do not have the authority to control the borders of the United States. Period. It's in the Constitution. The Constitution grants the authority to control the border in Article 1, Section 8 to Congress. It is a federal government power. And then the 10th Amendment says that powers not designated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people, which means that's how the states get powers. So the only powers that the states have are powers that are not delegated to the United States by the Constitution and or powers that are not prohibited to them by the Constitution. Oh, hold on, hit the wrong button. There we go. So because the power to regulate and control the border is specifically an enumerated power granted to the federal government, it is not a power that the states get via the 10th Amendment, and as such, they have no such authority to put razor wire to prevent people from crossing the border. Period. Now, if they want to enforce their drug laws, they can absolutely do so. If they want to arrest somebody for violating a state law, they can absolutely do so. They have to arrest people violating state laws. They can't arrest people violating federal laws. They have no authority to do so. Period. With a capital T. At the end. Chris, it is a little too late for that mom and her 2 kids. Well, true. And I think whoever prevented the Border Patrol agents from getting to that border should be charged with involuntary manslaughter, at the very least. Because they should very well be considered to be responsible, at least in part, for those people's deaths. Because if they, especially if the Border Patrol agents, if they could have acted and they could have saved those lives, and these Texas military whatevers, as they're called in Texas, because they have to be extra, if they could have, if those lives could have been saved, and the Texas military people said no, you can't do it, and they prevented them from doing so. I mean, so much for being pro-life, right? I mean, save the damn lives. Worry about the other crap later. But they have no heart or soul. Or morals, for that matter. But again, Texas just goes to show that conservatism doesn't really care about lives. They care about control. Let's see, next, it's making it illegal to put asylum seekers in buses to Democratic cities, denying them their court appearance in Texas. Well, I mean, and that should be considered kidnapping. I think Abbott and DeSantis should both be put up in charges for their actions and their roles in kidnapping folks and having them kidnapped and sent to other states, especially when they misinformed them and manipulated them into thinking that they were going to one place and got sent to another place. Like, that was absolutely horrible that they did. When Congress or the federal government is not acting lawfully, it's not A, it's not the right of the state. B, no, nothing in the Constitution says that if the federal government doesn't enforce the border to the liking of a state, that the state then has the authority to act. Nope. The states can sue the federal government and require that the federal government do more if they believe that the federal government's not doing enough, and there's been some action in doing that. Like, I think they sued the Biden administration to continue construction of the wall or something, and the Biden administration was forced, I think, to spend the money that was allocated by Congress on wall spending in the budget, because the money was allocated to be spent on building the wall. So therefore Biden had to continue building the wall because the courts made him continue building the wall, because Congress, the GOP and the House were able to put in money into the budget compromise to get them to continue building the wall. So Biden had to do it. So, but no, there's nothing in the Constitution that says, well, there's nothing in the 10th Amendment that says if the federal government doesn't do what the powers that they were enumerated, then now the states get these powers. There's nothing in the Constitution that even implies that. The state elects governors and representatives, and when those governors and representatives say it's okay, it's okay. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that either. That's just made up nonsense. That's absolutely false. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that either. In order for that to change, hey, Robin M., good to see you. No problem. Get here whenever you can. You know, we are easygoing here on Liberal Dan Radio. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that a governor and elected representatives can overturn the constitutional powers that are granted to the federal government and or to the states. I just want to remind everybody, before this gets out of hand, that when when somebody says something in the chat that we disagree with, we are going to attack the argument that's being made and not the person making it. And the mods know that they have all authority to mute people liberally. Rob, so states in theory should state in theory be allowed to stop vehicles with out-of-state plates under the premise that protecting its citizens, you never know who's in those vehicles. Well, I mean, I said on the last show, I think, that all of the people with Texas license plates in New Orleans or in Louisiana drive terribly, so I think we should stop all of the Texas license plates. But no, states don't have the authority to stop people from crossing state lines. Specifically because that's against the rules. It's the federal government has the authority to regulate interstate commerce. So the federal government sets the rules on what can cross state lines. So but I mean, conservatism, you have conservatives now who are supporting Donald Trump's bizarre words, like I put in my, the video, in my video series on Donald Trump, where he said, on that video series, clear, where the case against Donald Trump, where he said that he, as president, basically should have immunity to do anything, and that if he doesn't get impeached for something, that he shouldn't be able to get charged with anything. So basically, as long as he has 35 senators in his pocket, he can do anything he wants. And 35 isn't like an exact number. It's probably more like, he needs 2/3, so he would need 34, I think, in his pocket. But I guess 35 is a safe number. So even in states where marijuana is legal, it's not federally legal, and you can be federally prosecuted for it. In my case, if you get federally funded housing, it's a no-no. Right. Like, it technically, now we have the Biden administration now, and that's another good case for Biden video. I should take a note of that. It's a good case for Biden video, would be legalized medicinal marijuana. Whereas if you have legalized medicinal marijuana in your state, you don't want a Republican in power who might go after people using legalized medicinal marijuana. You might want you don't want to have that. Weed. Just take a note of that. Let that go. No, I understand that, Rob, but I mean, it's a good point. It's a very good point that's made. Gibbs and Mia. So what is the state supposed to do to protect its citizens? The state can protect its citizens by enforcing its own laws over the things that it has the power to do. Like, so if somebody who is in the state, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of whether or not how they got into that state, they might have crossed the state from Louisiana, as a citizen of the United States, or as somebody with a visa, or as somebody, who crossed the border as, seeking asylum, or they might have crossed the border, as somebody trying to be a migrant worker, right? They might have however they crossed the border and getting here, whatever they did. And if the individual commits a crime, then you can arrest them for committing that crime. So if they rob somebody, you arrest them for the robbery. If they burgle someone, you arrest them for burglary. If they drive drunk, you arrest them for driving drunk. Just like you would protect them from anybody else. I mean, it's not that hard of a thing. But, you don't have the authority as a state to enforce the laws on the federal books. You don't have the authority to enforce our immigration laws. You don't have the authority to block entry to the border. You don't have the authority to set up razor wire to stop people from crossing the border, because it's not your job. It's not the job of Texas's government to enforce border policy. Border policy is up to the federal government, and Texas may disagree with how the federal government is doing its job. And if Texas disagrees with how the federal government is doing its job, Texas has several ways to deal with that. Texas can elect representatives and senators to go to Congress and go to the House and go to the Senate and advocate for law changes to make sure that that laws are passed, to advocate for changes in ways that the federal government does its business. Texas could call for a constitutional amendment to enable them to be able to have powers in order to enforce their own borders, or to have more powers in protecting their borders if they so desired, and then it would require the votes that a constitutional amendment would require. Or Texas could potentially bring a lawsuit against the administration if they feel that the administration is acting in a way that's in violation of the law, in which case the courts could go ahead and say, okay, Biden administration, you are not enforcing the law properly, and therefore you have to do what you have to do. Or they could say, no, Biden administration, you can absolutely do what you're going to do. And in certain circumstances, the court system has said, no, Biden administration, what you're doing is wrong. You must do certain things, like what the Remain in Mexico policy, or there's the other one of the other Trump implemented policies that the Biden administration didn't want to do, and I think the states sued and they won, and the courts forced the Biden administration's hand, and they had to continue with a Trump era policy, I think, during COVID. I think that might have been Remain in Mexico. If I'm wrong, tell me in the chat. But in other circumstances, you have this situation where, the state was like, we feel that we have the right to put the razor wire here, and the Supreme Court says, no, you're wrong. The federal government has every right to remove this razor wire. You don't have the right to put the razor wire here. The border, you cannot stop the Border Patrol from doing their job. And that's the thing here, Joseph. It's not, the razor wire was actually preventing the Border Patrol from doing their job. So this is not an issue of, we have the right to defend our border because the border's not doing the job. The razor wire prevents them from doing their job. So it's actually impeding them from doing their constitutionally mandated duty. It's obstructing them. So the argument that they are doing the work that the administration is refusing to do is full of crap, because it's stopping them from doing the work that they have the authority to do. Hey, Bicycle Mike, what's going on? Good to see you. Jeff, I saw a Border Patrol truck here in Podunk, Missouri. I'm kind of tanned. They didn't pick me up. Maybe they knew you made a really good chili and they didn't want to do anything about that. Or maybe they thought you had chili on you and they thought you might use it as a chemical weapon because they know your chili is that damn spicy. See, Rob Saunders, the province of Alberta has created legislation that says they can ignore certain federal laws that the provincial government doesn't agree with. That's interesting. I wonder how that's going to roll. I wonder how that's going to turn out. Sounds Civil War-y. As a side note, it's really funny. I could tell that Cassie's in the shower right now, and that's probably the reason why this kitty is on my shoulder, because she probably was with Cassie up until the point that Cassie went to go take a shower, and now that Cassie's in the shower, Kitty doesn't have anybody to lay next to. So because Kitty doesn't have anybody to lay next to, I'm the second best. But, I'll take what I can get. I will take what I can get from this kitty. Oh. Oh, no, I thought she was leaving. Oh, I thought she heard the shower go off, and I thought she was leaving. No, she's just adjusting to get a better scratch, I guess. Oh, there's the tail. Oh, no, she's coming back, turning back around. Hello, kitten. This one was mean to me the other day. I was walking by her, and she was like, pop. She just popped me, and then she got me on my finger. Like, she put her claw right in the middle of my little finger. Yeah, GQP hates Taylor Swift because she registered votes. Oh, no, there you go. They hate Taylor Swift because she's very good at getting people out and registering to vote. Because if there's one thing that the GOP doesn't like, it's getting young people out to vote. Because as I've said in my GOP coup series, what the GOP wants the most is the electorate to be as old and as white as possible. Absolutely. Like, hiding it under... I don't even know that they hid it underwater. That's gross. Like, if I had a house... I do have a house. But if I set up a booby trap in my house to harm people who were trying to come into my house, and that's illegal for me to do. Like, it is against the law for me to booby trap my own house. I could get in trouble if I booby trap my house and to harm people trying to come in. Like, I can protect my house. In Louisiana, I could, like, if someone's coming into my house, I can shoot them proactively as they're coming in my house. But I can't set up, like, a booby trap, like a Home Alone type booby trap. But, like, the state of Texas can set up razor wire underwater to get people who are crossing. Like, it doesn't even matter if I put, like, a sign on it that says, hey, this area is booby-trapped, enter at your own risk. Like, again, it's gross. But, again, conservatives don't care. They don't care about lives. They don't care about lives. They will vote for the most horrific, disgusting, vile pieces of garbage, like DeSantis, like Abbott, and like Trump, as long as it means getting political victory. And half the time they'll agree with him anyway. No, Gibson, it's not even if I had signs. I could have a sign saying that there's booby traps, and I'd still go to jail. Can I booby trap my property if I have warning signs? The short answer is mechanical devices that can cause death or serious bodily harm to an intruder are not okay. The jerry-rigged booby trap has been a staple of fiction for decades. Home Alone, Indiana Jones, Dungeons & Dragons. From time to time, a property holder decides that it's lethal or potentially lethal force is appropriate to try and find the property. Sometimes, whether an intruder or guest landowner gets hurt or killed, and a lawsuit gets filed in addition to any potential criminal charges. This leads us to the question, when is it legal to put booby traps on your property? The short answer is mechanical devices that can cause death or serious bodily harm are not okay. Booby traps like man traps, spring guns, blah, 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 blah. Legal logic behind it is fairly simple. Boils down to two trains of thought. First, law generally recognizes that life is more valuable than property, and using booby traps raises the possibility that disproportionate force will be used to defend property. Second, booby traps have no way of determining whether somebody is lawfully present on property. Booby traps can't distinguish between a burglar breaking in, a policeman serving a warrant, or an animal that is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Traps make it harder for emergency workers to do their job and raise the possibility of tragic accidents, and they can lead to criminal charges if someone gets hurt. The consequences of booby trapping your property are not just limited to actual harm. It can also lead to extremely expensive lawsuits. The 1971 Iowa case, a standard reading on the subject, Iowa landowner Edward Briney set up a 20-gauge shotgun in an abandoned building he owned. Marvin Katko broke into the abandoned building to steal old bottles in the house and was shot by the shotgun trap. Katko pled guilty to larceny, but he sued Briney anyway. winning a judgment of $30,000 or $181,000 in 2017 dollars. This is in addition to any criminal charges that might get filed. A trap is absolutely incapable of exercising discretion or reason. Rather, it sentences its victim to death or great bodily injury in a split second, an explosion of deadly force. Because of that possibility, police, prosecutors, and courts are absolutely willing to press charges against people who booby-trap their property. Don't do it. Instead, if you're concerned about protecting property, considering installing a security system with cameras, signage warning would be keeping criminals out, and physical barriers that don't pose hazards to life and limb. So no, you cannot put some razor wire, I think, even though it's not mechanical, it's still, if it's hidden, razor wire. I would say you could probably put razor wire around your house if it's not hidden. But if you set up razor wire in a way that was hidden, like if Abbott's putting razor wire under the water so that people swimming can't see it, and then they swim upon it and get stuck in it and get harmed, yeah, that's akin to a booby trap, and that should absolutely be illegal. Absolutely should be illegal, and it should be considered immoral too. And the other thing is that even if, let's say this park that the state of Texas wanted to put a fence around this park, because I would say that the state of Texas does have the authority potentially to limit access in and out of the park itself. It wouldn't have the authority to block the border, but it would have the access to bar entry and exit into and out of the park, respectively, that they were talking about. The state of Texas would not have the authority to still prevent Border Patrol agents from doing their job. So if something that the state of Texas set up prevented the Border Patrol agents from doing their job, that would be illegal. That would, to me, would be obstruction of justice, at the very least. If not aiding and abetting a murder. And yes, Gibson Media, the Republican Party of North Carolina, or the Republican Party in his district, or maybe in the county, tried to get Joseph Gibson removed from the ballot that in the legislative district that he's running in for the state house in North Carolina. And they lost in the local area, and they appealed, and I think the state party, or the state board also ruled in favor of Joseph Gibson, so he's still able to run in his district. And you know who kept Joseph Gibson on the ballot in the local area? Democrats did. You know who pushed to have Donald Trump removed from the ballot in Colorado? Republicans did. Republicans had Trump removed from the ballot in Colorado. Republicans tried to get Joseph Gibson off the ballot. It's Republicans who are kicking people off the ballot. But it's always the Democrats' fault, right? Oh no. Don't say the word bigger brain. That could be problematic. There's a story about that. I've told it a long time ago. I don't know if I want to say it again. Anyway, let's do a quick show reset. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Mondays and Wednesdays here at liberaldanradio.com, or over on blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan, or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. If you haven't liked the video, please make sure to like the live stream. If you're not a follower of me on Twitch, please go to twitch.tv/liberaldanradio and just simply follow me. It's free to do. And if you don't have a Twitch account, it's also free to create. You don't have to do anything else on Twitch. Just create your Twitch account and follow me over on Twitch. I need 22 followers now because apparently somebody unfollowed me. So I now need 22 followers on Twitch. So that's the only other metric that I need to get it to become an affiliate over there on Twitch, which means that if you have an Amazon Prime account, you'll be able to subscribe to my channel for free and help me with the show and help me make a little more extra money on top of whatever I make from super chats. You can also send me super chats. You can buy people memberships. You can send super stickers. You can also subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, like videos, comment on videos, share videos. You could buy me a cider. You can Venmo me, just do it with friends and family, etc. So, hey, Alarasia. Good seeing you. Boo, 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 boo. I mean, you could say rhinos all you want, Joseph, but the fact that they're still registered Republicans means that there are Republicans who voted them into office, and the Republican voters voted them into office, so the Republicans have supported them. So until the Republicans vote them out, they're the elected Republican officials. That's all I'm saying. So... all right, I now need 21. Herrick Palmer followed me. Thank you, Herrick Palmer, on Twitch. Appreciate you. 21 to go. Back up to 29 followers. Yay. Huzzah. Big claps. What else? What else is going on? Following for some reason. Hi, all. Thank you for following. Appreciate you. Lose with dignity. That's something that Donald Trump does not know how to do. Donald Trump does not know how to lose with dignity. He does not know. He does not understand how to lose with dignity. He will send. He will send hate and vitriol and his rabid supporters out to the masses and cry all over the place that it was unfair. So unfair. I don't understand. And he loses a lot. Yeah. I'm the biggest loser. Nobody loses more than me. Well, I mean, he has 91 chances to lose, right? Because of all those charges that he's facing. Which, I don't understand. The whole Georgia thing. Like, let's say, for example, let's just say that the affair happened between the DA and her and the other attorney, right? Let's just say that happened. How does that affect the case? Like, maybe somebody who's an attorney, how does that make the case against Donald Trump or anybody else? Like, if Fani Willis really was screwing around with the married guy, how does that make the case any more or less valid? Like, again, I don't get it. Like, if Donald Trump did bad things, and if the other 18 people did bad things, her screwing around with another attorney doesn't make the case any more or less valid. Now, maybe there's some ethics violations that could be brought up externally, whether or not, he was brought in, if the allegations are true that he was brought in and paid a salary and he paid for trips or whatever and blah, blah, blah. But, like, why would that affect the cases against? Why would that? Maybe that would be just cause to throw maybe the attorney off the case, but why would that affect the cases themselves? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, off. Imagine if you were arrested and charged with RICO violations of the Ku Klux Klan Act, and your lawyer's only defense was that the black prosecutors had sex in the past with no evidence of it. Yeah, I mean that's also nuts. It's like they made a file and they filed a case, they filed something in court, alleging that the attorneys were screwing, and didn't provide any evidence of screwing. Like, how does that even make it past? Like, do you have evidence of this? No. Then I laugh you out of court. But for some reason, these things are allowed to be brought into court. I don't know why they're allowed to be brought into court. If she was sleeping on somebody on the defense side, then ethics would come into play. Yeah, I mean, maybe the trial would then be a mistrial at that point, because yeah, that would be absolutely 100% wrong. Unless there would have to be, with my understanding of the law, there would at least have had to have been some disclosure of stuff, and there would have to be some separation of there would have to be something involved where there would have to be, if somebody in the DA's office was sleeping with somebody who worked in the defense's office, then you would have to make sure that those things were clearly segregated, and that nobody from this was able to look at nobody from this because of, you know, confidentiality issues and client attorney privileges. Like there's, you know, I do work for a law firm, and so occasionally from time to time they'll do conflicts, and they'll check for whether or not there's a conflict between parties that are involved, and they'll see whether or not attorneys from one side have worked with attorneys for the other side, and if so, there'll be an email that'll be like, okay, well, we're going to be working on this case, but we need to make sure that these law attorneys are segregated, that don't have any access to what's going on from here, in order to make sure that everything is kosher. So, but yeah, I just don't understand why two prosecuting attorneys stupping, as us Jewish folks might say, would have anything to do with this case being valid. So maybe we should ask Justice Thomas about ethics. Oh wait, yes, he is the perfect person to ask about what you. Yeah, no, Chris, you're absolutely right. No, you're 100% right, Chris. You ask Justice Thomas about ethics, and then you do the exact opposite, because it's Justice Thomas is what not to do. There's what to do, and then what not to do. Yes, kosher. I guess as long as Fannie Willis and her alleged sexual partner didn't mix milk and meat during their lovemaking, it would be kosher. Exactly, 2-tier system for the privileged. Yeah, Lily von Stupp. That's why her name was Stupp in the movie in Blazing Saddles, because that's what she was sent there to do, was to Stupp. Lily von Stupp. That's why Mel Brooks is such a genius. Alarasia, what I would say is what she is alleged to have done would be stupid if she actually did it. We don't know if she actually did it or not. She may not have done it. It may just be a wild fantasy on the part of the defendant who brought the case, and or the maybe even the estranged wife of the other attorney. So, hey, Mr. Spock. Hey, TV2. Good to see you. Thank you, TV2, for having your live stream. By seeing your live stream, I was informed. I didn't get to come on your live stream, but I was looking at YouTube to find one of my videos, and because I saw your live stream about SCOTUS agreeing with Biden, I was able to see that the Supreme Court agreed with the Biden administration about the razor wire. So thank you for having that in your title. It allowed me to have some good content for a couple minutes on my show. So, Bicycle Mike, I used to know a little Yiddish. What was his name? Boom, boom, shh. But yes, it even if she did do what it is alleged that she was alleged to have done, it does have nothing to do with the merits of the case, and I don't understand why it would cause anything like mistrialish to happen. let's see, USA Today. New allegations of possible affair between DA Fani Willis and Trump case prosecutor. Second person on Friday alleged that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis had an improper relationship with the private Atlanta lawyer Willis hired to lead the election fraud case against Trump and the 14 alleged co-conspirators. Jocelyn Wade, the estranged wife of Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, said in a court filing in a divorce case that Wade bought airline tickets in his name and Willis for trips to San Francisco and Miami and possibly elsewhere in 2022 and 2023. Nathan Wade was working on the high-profile case at the time and was married to Jocelyn Wade. Since the allegations first surfaced in a court filing, speculation had been rampant about whether the alleged relationship between Willis and Wade could derail, delay, or torpedo the case outright. The new court filing, which includes what it says are Nathan Wade's credit card statements, appears to bolster at least some of the bombshell allegations made January 8th by Trump co-defendant Michael Roman of a improper adulterous affair between Nathan Wade and Willis. Roman alleged that Wade used some of the more than $650,000 he has received from Willis's office for his work on the Trump election case to fund his lavish lifestyle, including romantic trips with Willis to Napa and Florida and several Caribbean cruises. He also accused Willis of improperly hiring Wade, alleging he is unqualified to oversee the case due to his lack of prosecutorial experience. Now, they did unseal the judge unseals Wade divorce case. I wonder if it's publicly available. Wonder if all this stuff is publicly available or if just the media got to see it and hasn't published anything about it. Let's see. They did say that Fani Willis does not have to be deposed yet. Henry Thompson placed a stay on the subpoena from the estranged wife of Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Jocelyn Wade's attorneys have accused Willis of being her husband's alleged paramour. They were seeking to depose Willis this week. Increasingly contentious divorce could have implications for the sweeping racketeering prosecution. Roman, one of the 15 defendants, said that the alleged improper clandestine personal relationship between Trump prosecutors has irreparably tainted the case. Why? I don't know. Roman and others were hoping that deposing Willis under oath would provide them proof, but Thompson said Nathan Wade should first be deposed before he determines whether Willis possesses unique personal knowledge that would require her to be questioned under oath by attorneys for Jocelyn Wade. An evidentiary hearing will be set for January 31st. Without knowing what Mr. Wade would say, it seems that Mr. Wade would be the first and best source of information on what income has been and how he's been spending it, and that would have first-hand knowledge of whether he's engaged in an extramarital affair. The determination came at the tail end of a 30-minute hearing that was closely watched by the media. Thompson also unsealed the Wade's divorce file, which includes financial statements and other records which had not been previously public. Ashley Merchant, an attorney for Roman who had made the allegations about Willis and Wade in a court filing earlier the month, had argued in favor of unsealing the divorce records. She said they were improperly sealed in 2022 without a judge first holding a hearing as required by law. On Friday, Jocelyn Wade's attorney released information that seemed to support Merchant's allegation. Credit card statements from Nathan Wade that showed he paid for airline tickets for Willis to San Francisco and the Caribbean. Nathan Wade filed for divorce in 2021, and in a court filing, he said they'd be living separately in August that year. Now, here you go. That's one of the things that bothers me about that sort of thing, is that, like, if they split in 2021, then is it really an affair if they did anything in 2022 and 2023? Is it really an affair? Like, I mean, technically they're not divorced, but they're not together. Like, give me a break. Like, do you really have to not date anybody if you're legally separated, or if you're separated? Come on. Merchant has argued that Willis has a conflict of interest that warrants the dismissal of charges against Roman. Blah, 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 blah. She contended that the alleged relationship was improper because Willis financially benefited from the vacations paid for by Nathan Wade, who earned roughly $654,000 in legal fees for his work in the election case. I should have become a lawyer. I should not listen to my mother. Coalition of 15 media organizations, including the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, also pushed for the records to be unsealed. Merchant's accusations had been seized on by critics of the probe, which resulted in the felony racketeering charges, blah, blah, blah. Willis is required to respond to Roman's allegations in a court filing due February 2nd. Fulton Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee, who is overseeing the Trump case, has scheduled an evidentiary hearing for the matter on February 15th. Neither the Wades nor Willis are in attendance for the divorce hearing on Monday. Scott Kimbrough, Nathan Wade's attorney, said the parties agreed to seal the case 2 years ago to protect their privacy. He said the substantial media attention over the last 2 weeks showed the harm that is done if the case were to be unsealed. Jocelyn Wade's attorney, Andrea Dyer Hastings, did not contest unsealing the records. Thompson ultimately agreed. Blah, blah, blah. The judge then moved the matter to whether or not Willis should be forced to sit for deposition, yada, yada. We covered that already. We're not seeking his deposition as the district attorney of Fulton County. We're seeking a deposition in an individual capacity as the alleged paramour of my client's husband. I'm sure it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient all of us when Hastings began to argue that Axum, in his motion filed last week, accused Jocelyn Wade of obstructing and interfering with the election interference case. Thompson cut her off, said he wanted to stay focused on the code section involving high-ranking government officials. But yeah. Let's see. And let's see someone else. Somebody in the chat said that, did someone in the chat say that Jocelyn Wade also had an affair? Is that why they were getting divorced in the first place? Which would make it even more ridiculous that that Mr. Wade couldn't then not see anybody. You know, if you cheat on me, then why is it bad that I then during our separation can't see anybody else? It's ridiculous. Gibson Media, it says it won't let you follow. Are you on an iPhone? If you're on an iPhone, that could be part of the problem. Maybe. I don't know. Chris, I'm still technically married, but he's had dozens of girlfriends. Ask if I care. Do you care? I guess the answer is no. Agos Whitler, Nikki Pelosi had the powers to prevent World War II on January 6th and did nothing. Thanks, Obama. LOL. Hilarious. Let's see. Let's see, what did it say? The Republican Party wanted to stop Gibson from running due to his neo-Nazi ties, which is an interesting thing because I think according to Gibson, at least in the article that I read, I think Gibson turned against the neo-Nazis in the neo-Nazis apparently don't like him, even though the ADF, Anti-Defamation, ADL says that and tried to hook Gibson in with. So I don't know if there are Nazi ties with Joseph Gibson or not. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he has specific ties to neo-Nazis. It is correct that it's been reported that that's the reason why the Republicans don't want to be tied to him, because others have tried to make that claim. I know that he has denied such ties. I have tried to improve Joseph Gibson's way that he discusses things and trying to encourage him to not use things like the Rothschilds and international banking and George Soros and all the other typical arguments that are made that are dog whistles for terms for meeting Jews. But hopefully he'll pay heed to that if he's really not tied to neo-Nazis. But so far, while I disagree with Joseph Gibson on a lot of things politically, I don't want to throw around neo-Nazi terms without having absolute proof that there is that tie there, if that makes sense. Let's see. See, Robin, and one ethics, a fellow prosecutor getting paid to do his job just happens to be a single person. His wife had an affair. She wanted the case unsealed for Roman to see who was indicted by the Georgia AG. Let's see. What she did is stupid, but on another one, we already read that already. Kimchi's here. Hey, Kimchi, how's it going? Let's see. Coworkers may have bought tickets for a vacation together for a discount, then pay the other back in cash. It's not proof they had sex by going on vacation together. That is very true. I actually had that thought as well. Delay tactic on the part of our insurer. Well, that's everything that they're doing is trying to delay, because he wants every single case delayed until he could potentially try and win the election, and therefore on all the federal cases he'd be able to then shut every single election down by having the Justice Department, by naming a new person to run the Justice Department, a new Attorney General, and as such be able to shut everything down. And then you'd have a situation where you might have a constitutional crisis on the state issues, but it's typically viewed that you can't lock a sitting president up if you haven't been convicted yet, so then they'd have to wait till after he left office to continue the trial. Mr. Spock, it's only an affair if you're caught. I don't think that's necessarily true, but laugh out loud. Haha. Chris, good guess. I'm psychic, don't you know? That I was correct in my presumption that you didn't care about the husband's girlfriends. Gibson Media, it's called morals. If somebody cheats on you, which somebody is saying that the wife cheated on him first, are you supposed to not have any sort of relationships with anybody until the divorce is final? I mean, that's kind of unfair. Then again, to me, they should be able to say, okay, legally separated, you're no longer considered married for purposes of relationship wise, but we're still working on a division of assets. That should be, they shouldn't count affairs against you after a separation. They shouldn't count relationships against you after a separation. If they know the relationship is done and the separation and the marriage is irreconcilably split, you shouldn't be counting relationships after the fact against the people. It shouldn't be an affair at that point. It's ridiculous to call it an affair. Let's see. I mean, there is a point there. Gibson does have a point. He has no control over who calls into his show, just like I have no control of who calls into my show. Like if somebody tried to say that I have ties to Joseph Gibson, Joseph Gibson calls into my show. I mean, I don't have ties to him. He's a caller. I've had him on as a guest. It doesn't mean I have ties to him. It doesn't mean we're connected politically. We don't support each other. I mean, we disagree with each other a lot. Hold on, I just skipped past a whole bunch of new chats. Bicycle Mike, I'm high in eating. I'm jealous of both. Chris, it's been 7 years, just a matter of paperwork. Wow, that's what's taking the paperwork so long? That's nuts. Bicycle Mike, when my wife asked for a divorce, I turned into a slut. What triggered it? And you weren't one before? Aw, I like group hugs. Cuddle puddle. Liberal Dan Radio cuddle puddle. Jeff, who is this Jackie I hear about? You know you have a crush on Jackie. LOL. This, I mean, it's not the energy drink that I talk about on Nerdy Dan, but this is pretty darn good. It's what is it? Alani Juicy Peach. My wife, I mean, I had a taste of her cherry. I had a taste of my wife's cherry the other day, and her cherry was good, and now I'm tasting the peach now too, and both my wife's cherry and the peach are both delicious. Hey, Frida Love, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Mildly correction for Aaron. We are not calling fellow chat members names in the chat. We can call Donald Trump names all you want. Or DeSantis or Nikki Haley or whatever. We can call politicians names. You know, especially politicians who call other people names. We can call politicians names in the chat, but we are not calling each other's names in the chat. So, there you go. I have made peach cobbler, a gluten-free one as well, or peach dumb cake. I think more specifically, and that's been tasty too. You take some of the white cake mix, and I took like fresh peaches, laid them out, mixed it up with some cinnamon and sugar, and let that sit for a while, and then put that on top, put some butter on top, threw in the oven for a while. Oh, so delicious. You can call me anything as long as you don't call me late for supper. Funny jokes. Benny Loco, MAGA is not a political party, it's a terrorist group. I mean, you know. Wait. I'm too far down to be able to play that. I need to go back up to play the correct. There you go.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Yes, that is true. Hi, Aki. Why is it that some reasons Jackie comes up as Aki, or is that just an ongoing joke or something? Welcome, Lucid Libertarian. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you again. So back to the whole thing with New Hampshire though, and you know, I think it's weird because you would think that again maybe that DeSantis dropping out would help Nikki Haley maybe, but it probably helps Trump too. Like it probably more votes probably are going to go to Trump because of DeSantis dropping out than going to Nikki Haley, but who knows? Mr. Spock, what about calling chat members politician names? I don't know. That hasn't come up yet. It really depends. YouTube cuts off letters sometimes. Yeah, I've noticed that. It's kind of weird. Nick Rich, the sexy libs I've met over the last few years amongst you guys have encouraged me bigly. Bigly, they're the best people ever. No one has better chat members. That's so funny. Like, see, I don't. When Trump says that, when he says, "Is it Big Lee or is it Big League?" Because sometimes I swear I think he's saying Big League instead of Big Lee, but I'm not quite sure. Or maybe sometimes he says Big League and other times he says Big Lee. But no, Robert, if you say her name 3 times in a row, she'll show up. Do you really want that to happen? It's like Beetlejuice. Yeah, sometimes I think he is saying Big League instead of Bigly, but it just sounds like he's saying Big Lee because he can't speak properly. And that's one of the great things is that Biden running that ad about like just playing Nikki Haley's comments about how Donald Trump does not have the mental capacity to be president, then playing some of Donald Trump's, you know, ridiculous words about how he ran against Obama and all the other ridiculousness, and then Biden going like, "I'm Joe Biden and I approve this message." It's hilarious. Mr. Spock, I hate that I thought Jackie was Aki for 8 months. hilarious. Let me see if I can pull that up. If you haven't seen it yet, because it's hilarious, or hilarious, as YouTube might say. New Biden ad. Oh, look, that guy Liberal Dan is on. Maybe it's on Joe Biden's channel itself. Let's see. No. Let's pull up the videos itself. No. Joe Biden, Nikki Haley commercial. There we go. That's a good search. But I don't want to play like a whole ass thing. I just want the ad. So let's see. Uploaded filters. Uploaded today. Do. Can't find it. Or can't find it by itself, at least. It looks like Midas Touch has it, but not. But that's like a 12-minute ad. Oh, it looks like it starts right at the beginning of this, though, so I guess we can just play that and then go off of there. Assuming that it lets us play it. Let's see. Here we go. So let's see if it'll actually let us show it. So here's that. Alternate. Here we go. Just courtesy of Midas Touch Network.
Last night, Trump is at a rally.
You know, Nikki Haley.
And he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't handle January 6th better.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. What? What is? I'm driving over a road where it's almost all paper. And you know, you can see paper. I know paper. I know cans. But all the time now we see whales washing up on shore because of the wind. Our veterans don't have cell phones, do they?
He got confused. He got confused and said he was running against Obama. He never ran against Obama.
And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Obama he doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, you mean President Biden. So,
Don't put our country at risk like this.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
That is great. That is awesome. And it just goes to show exactly how dangerous that having Donald Trump is. It just, you cannot have somebody like that at all. But Donald, like every conservative, they always says it's almost a cliche at this point. Every conservative accusation is an admission. Every conservative accusation is an admission, including that one. Every time that the Trump campaign, every time the Republican pundits, the MAGA pundits are out there trying to claim that Joe Biden has some faulty mental capacity or whatever, you know, all because of a stutter. And it's all because of a stutter. Every time they're out there trying to claim it's Biden, it's because of Trump actually has the problem. And you can go through all of the other issues that Trump has had saying just words. I mean, and even typing words. Covfefe. What the hell was covfefe? Hamburgers. They was going to bring hamburgers to the people, to the athletes that were coming to the White House. The United States of America, anonymous. You know, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it incorrectly. I'm saying it the way that he said it incorrectly. Anonymous. Like, I was so mad when I heard him say anonymous, because when I heard it, I was out. And I wanted to get home and make a video. But by the time I got home, someone else made the video. Because I wanted to do the Muppet Show, where it had like Donald Trump going anonymous, and then do 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 anonymous, do 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 anonymous, do 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 do, and someone else beat me to it. Not that it would have mattered anyway, because I would have posted the video and it would have gotten like 7 views at the time, because, you know, I didn't have, you know, the awesome bunch of listeners that I do now. And viewers, I should say. I didn't have the awesome bunch of viewers that I do now. Back then, I would post something that I thought was great, and I might have like, maybe like Deminox and Yosh when I might have seen it, and that would have been it. So, Robert Krasno, his father said he was an idiot, and the apples don't fall far from the tree. Wait, how do they work then? What? Wait, what are you correcting me? It shows that the media slanders people. They call me a Nazi, a convicted felon, and then all the while I'm working with the DEA and other government undercover through the years. I mean, I'm, you know, I'll take you at your word at this point that you did work with them, but, you know, there is the reporting of whatever convictions you had. And again, I don't know anything about your convictions other than the fact that a newspaper story reported on them, but that you're no longer under any sort of punishment from them, and as such, I'm not delving into them, because again, I don't know much about them other than what one newspaper article said. So we're not talking about them much on the show, other than, again, what you just said and what article and a video said about, you know, the Republican Party in North Carolina claiming that you still were under some restrictions from them, but they couldn't provide any evidence of that, and since they couldn't provide any evidence of that, they kept you on the ballot. So fine. But again, I don't know any of that, and I don't know whether or not you working with the DEA to help turn other people in causes you to not be a felon. But, you know, again, I don't know what you did in the past. I don't know what crimes were alleged. I don't know what was convicted. I don't know the deals of it. So again, I don't want to talk about that because I don't know about it. You know, I mean, you brought it up. That's why I'm mentioning it. But I don't want to talk about it because I don't know anything about it other than what the brief little things that I read. And I don't believe in talking about things that I don't know about. So therefore, that's why that's why I've avoided it, even though I've seen the things about it. That's why I never mentioned those things, you know, really, except for the fact that just what I read in the paper, and that they were trying to keep you off the ballot, but that they claimed that you were still under some sort of restrictions, but you weren't, or whatever. I don't know, but I don't know. Frida Love, he actually sang "Stand Beside Me" and "Guide Her." He probably wanted to be like, he probably meant to sing "Stand Beside Me and Guide Me" because he doesn't know how to. Anyway, he probably has to tell that to Melania, all the "guide me," because he doesn't know what to do. I mean, but here's the thing, like, I don't do anything to Trump. Like, I'm Liberal Dan Radio. I'm out there trying to educate people, and I'm not doing anything other than when I talk about what Trump says, I'm not doing anything other than I'll show what Trump says. Trump's own words make him look stupid. Trump's own words make him dangerous. Trump's own words reveal that he's unhinged and that he has no place and no business serving this country in any position, let alone as president of the United States. I mean, if he says he ran against Obama, like, if Joe Biden said anything like that, y'all would say immediately, all conservatives up and down the aisle would say, like, well, he's senile, he can't be president. But the moment that Trump says that he ran against, somebody who he didn't run against, it's just the media. No, it's not just the media. It's Donald Trump proving that just because he can say person, woman, man, camera, TV, it doesn't mean squat if he doesn't understand that he didn't run against Obama. If he doesn't understand that Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi are two different people. If he doesn't understand, simple words like oranges and oranges. Like, I can't even say the different words wrong because my brain doesn't want to say oranges. It wants to say origins. But I know that I need to say the wrong word because that's what Donald Trump said. The wrong word. However, have I ever met or spoken to him? No, I've not had the displeasure of ever speaking to him, and I guess you have met him. Again, it is not a lie that Donald Trump has said to Sean Hannity that he wants to be a dictator on day one. It is not a lie that Donald Trump said origins instead of origins, he said oranges. It's not a lie that he typed out confetti on Twitter. It's not a lie that he said anonymous. It's not a lie that he said that he ran against Obama. Like, those aren't lies. Those are literal things that he says. It's not a lie that he said that he tried to give Nikki Haley 10,000 troops on January 6th. And even if he tried to give Nancy Pelosi 10,000 troops, it's not her job. But even then, to confuse Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley, you have to have some mental acuity issues. But look, Donnie still owes my husband $8,000 from the 80s. You'll never see that. I mean, Donald Trump loves... That's the other thing. Hypocrisy. Hypocrite of the Week. Thank you, Benny. I almost didn't play Hypocrite of the Week. That's a perfect segue to Hypocrite of the Week. Let's play this week's Hypocrite of the Week because it's a perfect segue. Here we go.
This week's Hypocrites of the Week are any emergency room doctors who would refuse to perform an abortion to save their patients.
Hold on. That's not right. That's an early one. This is the correct Hypocrite of the Week. Here we go.
This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Republican Congressperson Ashley Hinson, who complained that student debt cancellation means people have to pay for the debts of others. While she ignores that forgiveness is a term of the loan contract, her hypocrisy comes from supporting Trump, someone who used bankruptcy to get his businesses out of paying a lot of money to people he owed. You can't complain about student debt forgiveness while supporting Trump. To see who the Liberal Dan Radio Hypocrite of the Week is, tune in every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central at liberaldanradio.com and now at twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. For more talk from the left, that's right.
So again, there you go. You have Republicans out there, conservatives out there, complaining about student loan forgiveness. They don't like student loan forgiveness, even though student loan forgiveness is part of the contract that you sign when you when you sign a promissory note for federal student loans. So anybody who complains and thinks that students shouldn't be able to have their loans forgiven are saying that students who sign a contract, or people who were students, or people who signed a student loan contract, shouldn't be able to take part or use a provision of the contract that they signed. And if I sign a contract, I should be able to take advantage of every aspect of that contract, including forgiveness provisions. But the hypocrisy, again, comes in when you have these people supporting Donald Trump. They don't think that people who took out student loans should be able to get out of paying debts, but they'll call Trump a smart businessman for stiffing people on debts as part of his regular business practices over the course of his tenure, be it via bankruptcies, be it via just regular old stiffing people. He'll be like, there are people who've done business with him who have said, look, Donald Trump agreed to pay me like 10 grand, but then after I did the work for him, he said, okay, I'm only going to pay you 8 grand instead, or something. And then he says, but you signed this thing and said 8 grand. He's like, all right, well, sue me. Take me to court. You'll pay court fees. You'll have to pay an attorney. And I have attorneys that are willing to defend me. They're on retainer. So you'll have to pay all these costs to come sue me in court. And at the end of the day, you might win and you might get $10,000 out of me, but it's going to cost you $5,000 to do it. So you can either do that, or you can take my 8 grand and deal with it. And then they have to begrudgingly accept the 8 grand, because he would use his power as a wealthy person to bully smaller people, to bully less wealthy people. And I'm sure, I don't know what the situation was with Benny Loco and how Benny Loco and Benny Loco's husband got stiffed by 8 grand by Donald Trump, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was something similar. And I don't know why I used 8 grand, but I mean, there you go. It just happened to do that. And yes, Kimchi is also correct. The reason that Donald Trump wanted the troops, the 10,000 troops, wasn't to protect the Capitol. He wanted the troops to protect his people. He didn't want his people being attacked as they went in to storm the Capitol. Mr. Spock, the only thing I correct about your convicted of sexual assault is that he was found liable of sexual abuse when it comes to E. Jean Carroll. So it was a civil case. So it wasn't convicted of sexual assault. He was found civilly liable for sexual assault. So that's a slight difference. Less burden of proof in a civil case. But still, that's why I said in my intro to the show that it was found civilly liable, not that he was convicted. So... Right, Rob Saunders. What does I want to be a dictator on day one mean? That's exactly. He's going to give up his power in 24 hours? No dictator. Nobody who wants to be a dictator in one day is going to give up his power on day 2. Day 1 is just a euphemism, so to speak, for at the beginning. And again, that's why I have that first video in the Donald Trump video series on the case against Donald Trump, and why I started off with his I want to be a dictator on day 1, because you can't expect that he's not gonna do horrible things, especially with his belief and his legal opinion, the legal opinion of his attorneys, that he can do anything he wants to as long as he's not convicted of impeachment. Because if he's not impeached according to his legal theories, then he can't be convicted in a court of law. And if the Supreme Court says that's the case, we are screwed. Tim, it's only Monday, Dan. Lots of great hypocritical stuff coming up. Oh, I have tons of hypocritical. There's tons of hypocritical stuff coming up. Chris, but PPP loan forgiveness is okay. Well, PPP loan forgiveness is again, part of that program. That's again, like, it's one of the problems I have with using PPP loan forgiveness. I don't think we should be criticizing people for getting their PPP loans forgiven. I think we should criticize people for abusing the PPP loan system who didn't need them, because there were a lot of people, a lot of places, a lot of companies, a lot of Congress people who took out PPP loans who shouldn't have. It was supposed to be for specific individuals, and a lot of people abused the program. And so there are a lot of people who went without that shouldn't have gone without, because there are companies and individuals who didn't need the PPP loans and were able to use them. And the reason they were able to do that is because the Republicans and Trump, when they set up the PPP program, did not put in extra funding to be able to audit this program, to be able to make sure that the people who were getting these loans weren't people who shouldn't be getting these loans. But I don't believe in criticizing people for getting their PPP loans forgiven, because that was the purpose of the whole system, was to get them forgiven if you use them properly, to, i.e., pay employees. So even if you didn't, so if you got the PPP loans awarded to you, even if you technically shouldn't have gotten them in the first place, and then you got them forgiven because you followed the rules and gave them and used them to pay salaries, then they were supposed to be forgiven. So criticize the people who took them and didn't need them, fine, but we shouldn't criticize the people for getting their PPP loans forgiven. We should say, just like you got your PPP loans forgiven, the students, and that was part of that loan program, student loan forgiveness is also part of the student loan program. And so you shouldn't be critical of either of those things. We should be embracing both of those things, because both things are part of those programs. Tuada, just forgive the loans and screw the damn big banks. Well, the problem is this, is that you're not even screwing the banks. In the most part, when the loans get forgiven, a lot of these loans are federally held. So, like, my student loans are held by the federal government. Like Mohila, the student loan servicer, they service the loan, but the loan's held by the federal government. So when the loan gets forgiven, it's the federal government that's actually saying, oh, we're not going to collect any more money, we're just waiving the debt. And even if not, and when the loan gets forgiven, if it's held by a bank and it's a federal subsidized loan, the federal government then pays the money to the bank. It's not that the bank gets screwed, it's just the federal government that gets those. And so when these loans get forgiven, it's usually the federal government that's taking in these loans. So a lot of times, and a lot of these loans are already federally held. So when people are arguing, when these conservatives argue that, you know, we shouldn't be paying off these people's loans, it doesn't cost any additional money to forgive a loan that's already federally held. And that's one of the biggest arguments that I'll have with these conservatives, is that they'll say, well, why should we have to pay tax dollar money? It's like, well, we don't have to spend any additional tax dollar money. If I loaned you $20 right now, and then like 5 months from now I say, I'm forgiving your $20 debt, well, guess what? It doesn't cost me any more money to forgive that debt. Same thing with student loans. If I'm the federal government and I got your loans, so therefore I'm now holding your loans, I've already spent the money to get your loans. So if I've spent the money to get your loans, it doesn't cost me any additional money to say, okay, no more loans are forgiven. So it's not really screwing the banks at all, but it's helping the people. See, Nick Rich, if you give me so much attention, don't keep trolling without learning squat. Well, the other thing is that, though, the more people that chat in the chat, the more discussion that takes place in the chat, the more the algorithm gets nudged. So it actually helps my chat out, even if people don't like what he says. So Mike Lindell makes the My Diaper. Funny. See, Chris, I qualified for the disability discharge for student loan under Trump. It was a mountain of paperwork under Biden. It was automatic. Exactly. Well, DeVos denied people the ability who had the public forgiveness student loan program. Like, they were not processing the public service student loan forgiveness plans. Like, even though it was specifically in their documents that if you did public service for 10 years and made your student loan payments, that you would have those loans forgiven. And DeVos didn't want to forgive those because they were against it, even though DeVos still did the interest pause and the payment pause. Well, I mean, I think DeVos is in charge of a student loan company, and even during that payment pause, guess what happened? Those servicers still got money. So if you're in charge of a student loan servicing company, and you have no problem with the federal government not collecting interest and no payments being made if you're still getting your money, you're fine. You don't give a crap. What you don't want to have happen if you're a student loan servicer is you don't want those loans being forgiven, because that means you don't get any more money. That's how, and I have a video on this, a Fat Man ran about this, that's how Missouri was able to get standing in the student loan case, because they were able to claim that Mohila wouldn't be able to would lose money because it wouldn't be able to service those loans that were forgiven when Biden forgave $10,000 or $20,000. They were basically saying, we want to be freeloaders off the federal dole. We want to collect money from the federal tax dollars, so therefore we don't. That gives us standing. It was absolute and utter bullcrap. I got to it. I quit the CBS record club right after they sent me my 12 albums for a penny. You bastard. Y'all settle down. Come on. Gibson, I told you to behave. You're getting yourself riled up. Calm it. Anyway, we're ending the show soon anyway. So... Anywho. So again, just as a reminder to everybody on show stuff, again, tomorrow I'm probably, there's gonna, if you're gonna show up for the Nerdy Dance stream tomorrow, it's possible it might start late, it's possible it might end early, it's possible it might not be any change. I just don't know what the timing is when it comes to when I might go to. I might not even have any changes at all. I don't know what's going on with karaoke tomorrow with my friend leaving town, so I'll announce it on probably the Nerdy Dan Twitter account, so if you're interested, I'll let you know. I'm also going to let Aaron and Jolie know whenever I find out what I'm going to do, just so they don't show up and, be like looking around and be like, hey, what's going on? So as soon as I know what's going on, I'll announce it on Twitter, and I'll let the mods know as well. And they could, I'll probably also let Andrea know as well, so she can make an announcement on Hal's if she wants to do that as well. But then, of course, Wednesday, same bad time, same bad channel. We'll probably talk the New Hampshire election results as well, plus some other stuff And I'll probably also, let's see, what Trump also showed me $1,100 in stimulus, while Biden counted my adult dependent and gave me $4,200 the day after the ARP was signed. That's awesome. But we'll probably talk about the video that I made. Because one other thing we should talk about before the end of the show. Let's do that real quick. Because today is the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. Even though Roe v. Wade is no longer a thing because of the activist conservative Supreme Court, it is still it is still the anniversary of Roe v. Wade being passed. However, let's pull up Biden, abortion, contraception, because there was news for today. Here we go. Biden leads into abortion contraception as 2024 campaign strategy takes shape. It's part of the effort to frame the race as a choice between Democrats who protect abortion and contraception, Republicans. Thank you, Nick, for gifting another membership. Appreciate you as well. All right, Biden officials. Joe Biden is hammering his message on reproductive freedom this week with executive actions. Blah, 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 blah. Let's pull this up. I don't know why it's not moving. It's being stupid. Republicans continue to push for a national ban and devastating new restrictions. And, of course, Nikki Haley was on the news this weekend saying that it's ridiculous that no Republicans are going to push for a national ban. You're not going to get 60 Republicans. You're not going to get 60 people in the Senate to pass a national ban on abortion. Well, people were saying that you weren't going to get Roe v. Wade overturned, and it got overturned. So can you get a national ban on abortion? You could always have 50 Republicans in the Senate plus one to do a nuclear option. And as long as you get 51 people in the Senate, they could do the nuclear option and drop the nuclear bomb on it and get 51 votes, and then use the nuclear option and pass a national abortion ban that way if they wanted to. Biden's strategy. Ad release Sunday features a Texas OBGYN forced to travel out of state to terminate her wanted but non-viable pregnancy. On Monday, the White House announced executive actions to improve access to abortion and contraception. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Wisconsin to kick off the National Reproductive Freedoms Tour that will feature a dozen stops, where she will spotlight the stories of pregnant people affected by abortion restrictions. On Tuesday, Biden and Harris will appear for the first joint re-election campaign, a Northern Virginia rally focused on the stakes for reproductive rights, etc. Let's see. Where is the actual... there it is. Fact sheet: White House Task Force Reproductive Health Fidelity. A new action marks the 51st anniversary of Roe. During the task force meeting, members will report on ongoing implementation, strengthen 6 minutes left. My mouth is getting bleh. Strengthen contraception access and affordability for people with private health insurance. The administration is committed to ensuring that women have access to contraception, an essential component of reproductive health care, which is even more important in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, and reducing barriers that people face in accessing contraception prescribed their provider. The Departments of Treasury, Labor, and HHS are issuing new guidance to clarify standards and support expanded coverage, a broader range of FDA-approved contraception at no cost under the Affordable Care Act. This action builds on the progress made by the ACA to expand access to affordable contraception. In addition, the Office of Personnel Management will strengthen access to contraception for federal workers, retirees, and family members by issuing guidance to insurers participating in the Federal Employee Health Benefits Program that incorporates the department's guidance. OPM will newly require insurers that participate in the Federal Employee Health Benefits Program to take additional steps to educate enrollees about their contraception benefits. They reinforce obligations to cover affordable contraception. The Secretary of HHS will issue a letter to private health insurers, state Medicaid and CHIP programs, and Medicare plans about their obligations to cover contraception for those that they serve. Educate patients and healthcare providers on their rights and obligations for emergency medical care. The administration is committed to helping ensure all patients, including women who are experiencing pregnancy loss and other pregnancy-related emergencies, that they have access to emergency medical care required under EMTALA. We talked about the EMTALA before. The administration has taken the position that required emergency care can, and in some circumstances, includes abortion care. The Department of Justice is defending that interpretation of the law before the Supreme Court, which is expected to rule by June. And as soon as they come out with that ruling in June, we will discuss how that ruling is, and I'm sure it will be a negative ruling, and we'll discuss EMTALA at that point. Protect access to safe and legal medication abortion, and of course, when that ruling comes down from the Supreme Court, we'll also discuss that as well. Protecting access to abortion, including medication abortion, defending the FDA approval of medication abortion in court. Again, we'll discuss that. Protect access to safe and legal medication abortion. Partner with state leaders on the front lines of abortion access. They're going to fight, the states who do have that, and trying to make sure that people will have access to those needed care. Ensure access to emergency medical care. Provide access to reproductive health care for veterans. Support access to care for service members. Defend reproductive rights in court. Reproductive Rights Task Force monitors and evaluates states and local actions that threaten to infringe on federal protections relating to the provision or pursuit of reproductive health care, impair women's abilities to seek abortion care when it's legal, impair individuals' ability to inform and counsel each other that care is available in other states, ban mifepristone based on disagreement with FDA's expert judgment about its safety and efficacy, or impose criminal or civil liability on federal employees who provide legal or reproductive health services, and supporting women's ability to travel for medical care, defend the right to travel. On the day of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, President Biden reaffirmed the Attorney General's statement that women must remain free to travel safely to another state to seek the care that they need, support patients traveling out of state for medical care, safeguarding access to contraception, etc., etc., etc. There's more information about that here. We will put that in the chat. Boom. Let's hit enter. Is it going to let me do it? I don't think it's going to let me do it. I think it's just too big of a link. Unfortunately, it's too big of a link. Anyway, it's at the whitehouse.gov. See, Chris, thankfully my incomplete miscarriage was 20 years ago. Otherwise, I might not be here to chat with you wonderful people tonight, and that wouldn't have had my third child. Exactly. These laws are draconian. They're ridiculous. They are harmful to people. People need to be able to treat their incomplete miscarriages and as not be arrested for them, like we saw in this case situation in Ohio. Unfortunately, Brittany Watts did not get punished for her abortion. Or not for her abortion, but for her miscarriage by the grand jury. That is a big fortunate, but she should have never been put in that situation in the first place. But we're going to have a lot of Supreme Court rulings to respond to, I'm sure, over the course of the next few months. Donna, oh, absolutely. It's all about control. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to absolutely 100 provide. Dan, you take calls anymore? Why? I have taken calls. Is it not accepting? I haven't seen any calls come up on my board. However, I haven't been looking at my board the entire time either. So if you've tried to call and I wasn't looking at my board, it's because I was looking at another page. So if you've tried to call in the last few minutes and my board was open, maybe it's a Blog Talk Radio issue. Because, we all know that Blog Talk Radio sucks. But I have taken calls before, but I mean, there's 5 minutes left in this, 4 minutes and 45 seconds left in the show. So there's no calls. There's no time left for any calls currently in the show. But there's no calls at this point because we're rolling things up. So, but yeah, we need to trust doctors. We need to trust science, but there was something that came up in my memories on Facebook from a while back that basically said it to a T, like the Y2K bug. The Y2K bug basically showed us that whenever you have a bunch of experts get together and solve a problem so it doesn't become a problem, you then end up with a bunch of people who then will make fun of it, saying that it was never a problem to begin with. Because, you know, you had there was a legitimate problem with the Y2K bug, that you had systems that were set up that used 2 digits for the end of year. Like, instead of like 1998, 1999, it was just 98 and 99. So then it was, okay, now it's at the year 2000, so now it's 00 instead of 2000. So now the systems might think, oh, we're now back 100 years ago, instead of thinking, okay, it's the next year. So they had to go in and fix all this code. And they went in and fixed a bunch of that code so that it wouldn't be a problem. And they did it, and it worked. But then, because it didn't become a problem, because it wasn't like the big apocalyptic Y2K issue that everyone thought it might be if they didn't take action, people were like, huh, it wasn't a big deal. So then, every other time, you know, we say that something bad is going to happen if we don't take action. Scientists, you know, do what they need to do. Like COVID, they come out with the vaccine. Lots of people take the vaccine, helping a lot of people to not die from the illness. A lot of people act responsibly during COVID to make sure that people don't, you know, to make sure that people are doing the things that we need to do, even though more people died because of COVID than should have because of Trump's ineptitude and actual malicious ineptitude and willful ignorance. You have people who'll deny that it wasn't who deny it was a problem because it wasn't as much of a problem as it could have been had we done nothing. And that's how it works. Tawada, still, can I trust chubby people? Not around donuts. That's my short answer. Not around donuts. Especially nice, big, cream-filled, delicious donuts. Delicious donuts. Anyway.
90 seconds.
So we have, yes, 90 seconds. Tim Farrell, call from West is always interesting. Yes, especially. Hey, Gary Richmond, you just caught the tail end of the show, but I would appreciate it if you do follow me. I'll be on Wednesday as well. Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central. We're about to get the tail end of the show here because we're about to start the last minute of the
60
show.
Seconds.
And this is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. We will be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, as normal. Mondays and Wednesdays, regular show time, 8 p.m. Central. LiberalDanRadio.com, which is the YouTube channel link, or twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio as well. If you want to follow me, do me a big favor. Get everybody you know to come follow me on Twitch if they're liberals, progressives, leftists, etc. I just need 21 more followers. If I get 21 more followers, I can become a Twitch affiliate because that's all I need. That's all I have left to do. I've checked every other box. You could do super chats on YouTube. You could super stickers, become a member, all that jazz. Comment on videos, like videos, share videos, etc. Until on Wednesday, unless you join me for the stream tomorrow on Twitch. This is Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.